Ball Bowls 1978 is a feature presentation of the nation's leading independent, the Mizlou Television Network.
Yellow 19, yellow 19, 1-3, ready, set, come on, punch it, draw,
From the Astrodome in Houston, Texas, this is the 20th annual Bluebonnet Bowl, featuring Stanford against the University of Georgia. Tonight's Blue... Happy New Year, everyone. From all of us at Mizlou Television Network, I'm Howard David with Merle Harmon and Don Perkins. I don't think Vince Dooley, the coach of Georgia, has any doubt in his mind how Stanford is going to come at him tonight. It's going to be through the air. Steve Dills will put the ball up in the air. He completed 63% of his passes this year. They were 9-1-1, Georgia was. Stanford was 7-4. But Merle, Stanford lost 3 games to Southern Cal, UCLA, and Oklahoma by a total of 13 points.
You're exactly right, Howard. They were that close, just that close to being the Pac-10 champions. And, of course, Georgia, very, very close. Tremendous comeback from last year to almost win that Southeastern Conference title. And, you know, Bill Walsh of Stanford, Don, has an interesting concept on how to control the game. Through the air. He says that he tries to control the game with the pass. I thought most coaches tried to control the game with a run.
Merle, most of them do. It's not too unusual anymore when a coach has got a great quarterback. They usually establish the passing game and then work on the running game. If you get the passing game going well, it opens up the running game. As any coach will tell you, though, the games are usually won or lost on the line of scrimmage. A lot of praise, accolades, if you will, are given to the people that play the skilled positions. But I think this game's winner will be determined by defense. How well can the Georgia Bulldogs put pressure on that great quarterback for Stanford? And for the Stanford defenders, how well can they stop that great running back, McClendon, for the Georgia Bulldogs?
Both coaches admit there'll be a lot of scoring tonight, Don. In fact, Bill Walsh says 7 touchdowns at least, and Vince Dooley of Georgia says, fine, if we had that odd one. We'll have a matchup of tonight's great teams, right?
From Mizlou Network Control, and welcome to the Bluebonnet Bowl pregame matchup. Our matchup is brought to you by Grecian Formula. Tonight, for the first time ever, Stanford and Georgia are going to meet in football. And right now, we're going to show you the Bulldogs of Georgia and the Cardinals of Stanford. Well, Georgia was one of the surprise teams this year in the SEC, and they have a flashy offense led by junior quarterback Jeff Pyburn, who completed almost 75% of his passes. Tailback Willie McClendon became the Bulldogs' all-time single-season rushing leader with 1,312 yards. Georgia's offensive line is anchored by senior right tackle Mark Guest and junior right guard Matt Braswell, both all-SEC selections. Ricky McBride, an all-SEC linebacker, accounted for 160 tackles. And according to Coach Vince Dooley, he was the glue that held the Bulldog defense together. Cornerback Scott Werner could give Stanford fits returning kicks as he goes into tonight's game because he has a 12-yard average on each kick return, including a 72-yard touchdown against Georgia Tech. Well, when you talk about Stanford, you talk about great quarterbacks, people like Jim Plunkett, Guy Benjamin, and on and on. And once again in 1978, the Cardinals have a guy who can really heave the ball. The Stanford offense is led by senior quarterback Steve Dills, the country's leading passer, who completed 63% of his passes for over 3,000 yards and 22 touchdowns. Sophomore split end Ken Marjoram blossomed into the top receiver in the Pac-10 with 53 catches and 9 touchdowns. Halfback Darren Nelson, a lightning-quick 5'9", 170-pounder, is the only man in college football history to rush for 1,000 yards and catch 50 passes in the same season, and he has done it 2 years in a row. Defensively, the Cardinals are paced by senior linebacker Gordy Saraceno, who holds all the school's tackling records, and by sophomore safety Robbie Chapman. So there you have it, the Bulldogs of Georgia and the Cardinals of Stanford in what promises to be an outstanding football matchup. We'll be going directly to the Astrodome in Houston, Texas, right after this word.
In red jerseys will be kicking off, and Stanford in white to receive, and Rex Robinson boots it away, and we are underway. And Gordon Banks in the end zone will stay in the end zone, and the ball will come out to the 20-yard line, where the Cardinals will put it in play for the first time. This is a special year in college football. The National Football Foundation's College Football Hall of Fame was dedicated in August in Kings Island, Ohio, and you're looking at the official commemorative coin depicting the College Football Hall of Fame. It was used in the coin toss tonight. And we encourage you to visit the new Hall of Fame. Will open every day of the year except Christmas. All right, let's watch Steve Dills, number 12, the Stanford quarterback, in a pro set with wide receivers out each way. To the air in a hurry. Incomplete. Ken Marjoram, who had caught 53 passes for 942 yards and 9 touchdowns this year.
I tell you what, Merle, Steve Dills came out right away going to his number 1 man, Marjoram. As you mentioned, he led the Pac-10 this year, catching passes for 942 yards and 9 TDs. We're going to see a lot of that aerial show as the evening goes on.
There's Marjoram flanking wide to the left, and Vince Mulroy is going to be flanked to the right. The running backs are split, and this is Dills to the air for the second time. His coach said he would throw 35 times. He completes this one to Nelson, coming out of the backfield, and Darren is up to the 28-yard line, almost the 29 for a 9-yard gain. And Chris Weldon, the roverback, makes the tackle for Georgia. Quickly, let's set the offense. Marjoram, 28, a wide receiver. Left tackle, Brian Holloway, 67. Paul Hibbler, 69 at left guard. Scully, 66. All Pac-10 center. Jim Stevens, academic All-American, number 63 at right guard. Jane Engel, an all Pac-10 right tackle. And Marty Smith, number 88, is the tight end. Here's Dills back to throw again, and this time Dills completes one to Francis, his fullback, coming out of the backfield. He is all the way up to the 40-yard line, and he has a first down for the Stanford Cardinals on an 11-yard pickup, and Scott Warner, a tremendous performer, the left cornerback, makes the tackle. The nation's second leading receiver, Phil Francis, who catches him coming out of the backfield. He's a senior from Beaverton, Oregon. Here come the Cardinals to the line of scrimmage again. That's Marjoram going to the left. He's a sophomore from Fountain Valley, California at 6'1", 175. This is Steve Dills, the nation's leading passer. The running game this time. It's Darren Nelson, who gained over 1,000 yards this year and last year, to the 43, where he is stopped by Gordon Terry after picking up 3 yards on the play. And so the Stanford Cardinals come out. They won 7 and lost 4. They did a lot of it with a passing game. Passing is their game indeed, and we have seen Nelson on the first running play, Don.
That we have. Georgia using a wide tackle, 6 defense. They're not big, but they're very active along that line of scrimmage.
Now man in motion to the right, that's Francis, and this is Dills to the air, and he is sacked back of the 33-yard line on a great rush by Gordon Terry, number 50, the defensive right end. And he had help from Lewis Friedman, number 59, a walk-on from Savannah, Georgia. Lewis Friedman, number 59, and there you saw him. An 11-yard loss, the ball all the way back to the 33-yard line, and it becomes 3rd down and 17 at the 33 here in the first quarter.
And that's what the Wonder Dog defense is going to have to do all evening if they're going to contain quarterback Steve Dills. They're going to have to put pressure on him. Dills has completed passes for almost 3,000 yards and 22 TDs in 1978.
You just saw Marjoram coming to the right. The ends are in, and Nelson in motion to the right. Dills to the air on 3rd down. Here he comes, and he's got his tight end, Marty Smith, number 88, and he is out of bounds. David Archer, number 14, had the defensive assignment and got him out of bounds, but it's short of a first down. A gain of about 9. It'll be 4th down and 6. And listen to the Georgia Bulldog fans as the defense is held, and coming in to do the kicking is Ken Neighbor, a sophomore from Cincinnati, Ohio. Warner and Collins are deep as Neighbor gets that ball to the air, and a good one, a beauty. It'll be Warner. Scott in the high tops, inside the 10, back to the 15, and he is dumped on the 16-yard line. And downfield on the tackle was Charles Bedford.
48-yard punt on that one. Warner just brought it back a few yards. He averages about 12 yards per tune, Scott Warner does, per return this year.
Scott Warner turned an ankle in practice a few days ago, and he was listed as doubtful when Georgia arrived here at the Astrodome, but there's no way that you could keep him out of this ball game tonight. Now watch Jeff Pyburn, number 7, the quarterback. The running backs, 25, Jimmy Womack, 36, Willie McClendon, the great tailback of the All-American from Georgia. Split to the left, Lindsey Scott. This is Willie McClendon. Trying to get to the outside, does it the 20, 25, 30. He is rolled out of bounds near the 35-yard line. Willie McClendon, a gain of 12 yards. The senior from Brunswick, Georgia, what a runner.
What a runner is right. Over 1,300 yards this year. He broke the record, a 37-year-old record. We're looking at it again. 37-year-old record set by Frank Sickwinch of 1,103 yards for a season.
Scott flanked wide to the right side with a wingman to the right. This is Jeff Pyburn out of Athens, Georgia. And Willie McClendon hit hard near the line of scrimmage by Chuck Evans, the top defensive lineman for Stanford this year, a senior out of West Covina, California, at 6'4" and 240 pounds. So the Georgia Bulldogs and the Stanford Cardinals are rocking them and socking them here in the Astrodome tonight in the 20th annual Bluebonnet Bowl game, a New Year's Eve tradition. Arnold to the near side. Amp Arnold and Lindsey Scott split to the top of your screen. Jeff Pyburn, whose dad was a baseball player with the Baltimore Orioles, rolling right and looking. And Jeff moves it out to the 40, up to the 41. On the far side of the field, a gain of 8 yards for Jeff Pyburn, who is primarily a passer. Gordy Saraceno, the great linebacker, number 95, made the stop, and we have a third down coming up for the Georgia Bulldogs, who won 9, lost 1, and tied 1 this year. This is a Stanford defense. Jeff Pyburn and McClendon on the pitch. Chase to the outside, and it is Willie McClendon up the sideline. He is all the way across the midfield stripe. They're going to mark that ball back near the midfield stripe, and it's a first down for Georgia on a gain of 9.
What acceleration McClendon has. Just done an excellent job taking this pitch. He's a big back. He's 6'1", 200 pounds, but watch him turn the corner right there and just explode. Just explode for the Bulldogs to pick up the 1st and 10.
Willie McClendon, one of the co-captains. Carmen Prince is now in. He is split to the left, and Lindsey Scott is wide to the right. Georgia out of the eye, and it's Womack, the fullback, for about a yard, and that's all. Jimmy Womack, who is a sophomore from Warner Robins, Georgia, a little guy, 5'9", 190 pounds, and Doug Rogers, the nose guard, making the stop for Stanford. Georgia has Jim Milo and Mike Guest as the tackles. Tim Morrison and Matt Braswell are the guards, and Ray Donaldson the center, and Lindsey Scott wide to the right. Make that wide to the left. Pyburn, fumble, a scramble. The white shirts have it. Stanford recovers the fumble on the 48-yard line, and number 62 swarming all over the ball. Steve Budinger, the inside linebacker, gets the recovery.
Not a clean exchange on this one, Merle. You see Pyburn there, the quarterback, handing off to McClendon. Right there. He hits the ball in. It bounces loose. It's bouncing around there. McClendon cannot get to it, though. Steve Budinger from Stanford, number 62, a big break for the Cardinals.
A little more than 10 minutes to go here in the first period, and the Cardinals, with Steve Dills at quarterback, are right back at it on their own 48-yard line. Dills, flag down. That's Darren Nelson. Look at this little guy from Los Angeles go all the way down to the 32-yard line, but we had a flag dropped as the play got underway. Darren Nelson, who's only 5'9", 170 pounds, brought down by Ricky McBride. And the penalty is against Georgia, and the play will stand for 20 yards and a first down at the 32.
Darren Nelson, a good one. He's just a little fella like Merle talked about, but he averages 6.4 yards a carry. We talk a lot about the Stanford aerial game with Dills completing so many passes, 22 per game, but Nelson is a good running back.
Holloway and Engel the tackles, Hibbler and Stevens the guards, and McCauley over the ball for the Stanford Cardinals. With a wingman to the right and 2 tight ends, and this is Darren Nelson again. The little guy down to the 26. Robert Goodwin, number 99, the Birdman, made the stop for the Bulldogs. He's out of Fort Myers, Florida, a junior 2-year letterman for Vince Dooley. Gain of 6. And it's now 2nd down and 3. The ball right near the 25-yard line. Ken Marjoram is splitting out wide to the left at the top of the screen. The ends stay in. Smith set left, and this is Darren Nelson in motion to the left. Dills under a rush. Down he goes. Storming in there. Number 61, Eddie Weaver, was one who had a big rush on. a freshman out of Haines City, Florida, and Robert Goodwin.
Number 99,
and a
Robert Goodwin also doing a good job on this one. A lot of pressure put on by the Bulldogs. Let's look at number 88, Marty Smith, trying to get out. You see him get a good chuck right there from number 52, Ricky McBride. Marty Smith, though, the Stanford tight end, trying desperately to get out in the pass pattern. Merle, that's the reason that one broke down. The pass protection was good, but the receivers could not get out.
And we have a timeout called by the Cardinals. We have 8 minutes and 44 seconds to go in the first quarter. No score, and we'll return with more action right after this. 8 minutes, 44 seconds to go. First quarter action. Stanford Cardinals out of the back 10 against Georgia, Southeastern Conference. Pros set. And now it's Marjoram and Nelson are going to switch. Marjoram going wide to the left and Dills to the air under a big rush, and he lets it go for Marjoram. And it is incomplete. Right at the goal line, Robert Hope had the coverage, and they got all tangled up down around the 1 yard line, and Stanford thinks there was pass interference.
Well, it was pretty close. Ken Marjoram, the intended receiver on this one. Dills has to get it off in a hurry. He's getting a lot of pressure. Let's look at the coverage here by number 30, Robert Hope. You're probably going to see a little foot contact. Well, we can't quite see it. He may have tripped over himself, but anyway, he went down. The official was closer than we were. He said it's okay.
All right, it is 4th down, 14. Ken Neighbor is back to punt, and going deep is Scott Warner for Georgia in a single safety. Look at those high tops on Warner to protect that injured ankle. Neighbor going for the sideline, and it goes back into the end zone. They tried to save that ball. Zellmer tried to fall on it, but it'll be brought out to the 20-yard line. A flag was thrown back in the end zone, but I think that is only because of being in the end zone.
Number 43, Larry Harris, is the man right there. The ball has not hit in the end zone. Number 43, Harris, is in the end zone. He's in the air, batting it back. Batting it back before he hits the ground, but there is a flag out there. Let's see what the ruling is.
Ball being brought to the 20. You saw the flag go. Right now, we're going to be guessing that it is nothing more than... All right, the penalty declined, and Georgia will take the ball right at the 20-yard line. Now Lindsey Scott has come in. It's Scott, Milo, Morrison, Donaldson, Braswell, Guest, and Norris across the front. Georgia in the eye with a wingman to the left, and Pyburn is going to Willie McClendon again. Look at that cut by McClendon as he bangs his way out to the 24-yard line. A gain of 4 yards, and Robbie Chapman, the free safety, made the stop for the Stanford Cardinals. That was the call back there, by the way, was for an illegal touch in the end zone, and the ball was brought to the 20. Robbie Chapman, an all Pac-10 performer, and the strong safety is Steve Foley, number 30. Those cornerbacks are John Piggott, number 24, and Rick Parker, number 23. Scott is flanked to the left. Willie McClendon right up the middle. Look at Willie go out to the 32. First down on a gain of 9. Willie McClendon stopped by Robbie Chapman again. McClendon is a great prospect, no doubt about it.
I tell you what, it takes more than an arm tackle, and he's running through a good one right here. And Saraceno, number 95, right there getting a shot at McClendon. But you got to get a good shot at him. You got to get a shoulder into him. You cannot bring him down with an arm tackle.
McClendon, 5 carries, 35 yards unofficially. Darren Nelson, 30 yards on 3 for Stanford as a leading carrier. Little extra action here, and on the option, it's Jeff Pyburn to midfield, and he is out of bounds near the 42-yard line, or the near sideline in front of the Stanford bench. Doug Rogers, number 60, the nose guard, chasing him out of bounds on the sideline after a gain of 11, and we have an official's timeout. Ronnie Stewart is coming into the ball game with Willie McClendon. Ronnie Stewart, number 33, a sophomore out of Tampa, Florida. 5'10", 190 pounds for the Bulldogs. Looks like we're going to have a measurement.
Merle, while we're having that measurement, Savan Thompson is in now for Stanford. He took the place of number 23, Rick Parker. Parker went off the field limping a little bit. Looks like Parker's okay. No, he did not go back into the lineup.
And here is the famous Georgia Bulldog, the mascot. Womack is back in there, and it is Womack and McClendon now the running backs. And a Happy New Year from Ms. Lou. Wide to the right, Amp Arnold. And it is Pyburn on a give to his fullback, Womack. Right up the middle he goes to the 47, and Steve Budinger, who topped Stanford in tackles with 142 this year, stops him after a 4-yard gain. It is 2nd down 6, and we have no score here in the first quarter at the 20th annual Bluebonnet Bowl. A game that has produced an average of 60.2 points over the last 5 years here. Screen, Scott, midfield, 45, 40, and Lindsey Scott, the freshman, down to the 37-yard line. He's the fastest man on this Georgia club, and Larry Reynolds, number 22, just giving it right quarterback, makes the stop after a 15-yard pickup by Lindsey Scott.
And that guy is just a freshman. He's going to be back a couple of 3 more years yet for head coach Vince Dooley.
And he was the freshman of the year in the Southeastern Conference. 6'1", 180. He can move it at a 99-yard kickoff return against LSU this year. Scott wide to the right. 1st and 10 for Jeff Pyburn in Georgia. Play action. Rolling, throwing, ball deflected. And let's see, I believe it was Chuck Evans who got a hand on that ball to deflect it. Lindsey Scott, the intended receiver. So it's a 2nd down 10 coming up. That 3-man line, the 3 down linemen and 2 outside linebackers for Stanford. Milt McCall, number 80, Chuck Evans, 89, Doug Rogers, the nose guard, number 60, Dean Wilson, 91, the right tackle, and Tom Hall, number 58, the right tackle. Milt McCall is battling the flu bug. Scott and Arnold are wide right in the slot. Here comes the flanker reverse, and this is Amp Arnold. Arnold at the 30, 25, 20, 15. He is out of bounds around the 10-yard line, mark it at the 11. Amp Arnold on the flanker reverse for 26 yards, run out of bounds by Larry Reynolds.
Well, we were told before the game all you have to do is stop the big back McClendon, but they've got some other firepower out there. Arnold right here, a sophomore, 6 feet, 165 pounds, doing a good job getting to the outside, getting a lot of help there from Charlie Fales, number 51, the center, blocking for him.
Mark Hodge is now in at tight end, and Arnold is flanked wide to the right side. Split out right. 1st down, Georgia. Willie McClendon stumbling, can't go at the 15. A loss of about 3. Gordy Saraceno, the linebacker, coming up. And Saraceno out of Canoga Park, California, with Burcham, number 44, coming up, the free safety to help out. That defensive unit of the Cardinals now being called on to stop the Bulldogs, who have a 2nd and 14 coming up officially. Carmen Prince is split wide to the left side for the Bulldogs. Pyburn rolling back to the right. Ball is knocked down, and number 58 gets a hand up there to bat it away.
Well, I have to fault Pyburn, the quarterback, on that one. Tom Hall was right in his face. Pyburn did not try to elude him. He tried to throw it right through him. Tom Hall's not that big, but he's 6'5", 220, and it takes a pretty good shot to get it through there.
He's as big as one of your old Dallas Cowboy teammates, so Don. We're down to 5 minutes, 28 seconds to go in the first quarter. No score here at the Astrodome. Merle Herman, Don Perkins, and Howard David with you. Lindsey Scott wide to the left, number 24. He can burn you. Pyburn reverse the other way. That's Arnold again. Doesn't work as well this time, as the Cardinals stop the play at the 14, and it's Gordy Saraceno, co-captain and inside linebacker, whose hero was Nick Bonacani. They're about the same size. He's quite a chef, too. And so what we have now is a 4th down and 13 coming up, and Rex Robinson comes in for a field goal attempt. He kicked 15 out of 17 this year. In to do the holding is Mike Garrett, and it's from the 21, making it 31, and he's got the distance, and it is good. A 31-yard field goal by Rex Robinson. And Georgia is on the scoreboard with a 3-0 lead, and we'll be back with more action right after this timeout.
On January 13th, the Olympia Challenge Bowl 2 from the Kingdome in Seattle. Pac-10 All-Stars against the Big 8 All-Stars right here on the Ms. Lou Television Network. Lenny Dawson will be out there to call the play-by-play with Don Perkins and Steve Grad to join him.
Rex Robinson will kick off for Georgia. He just booted a 31-yard field goal. Back deep are Gordon Banks, 45, and Rick Jervis, number 11. Rex Robinson's parents are here. We had a visit with him the other day. Great kicker, only a sophomore out of Atlanta. And look at the leg on Rex Robinson. And Banks will down it in the end zone, and the Cardinals will bring it out to their own 20. So the Stanford Cardinals under coach Bill Walsh in his second year, and of course he has put together a tremendously exciting team, the nation's top passing team, featuring the nation's top passer obviously in Steve Dills, but they also had the nation's top passer last year in Guy Benjamin, Don, and he could wheel it too.
Certainly did. Jim Walsh has been there 2 years. Last year they went to the Sun Bowl and beat LSU, so he's batting 2 out of 2.
Steve Dills, the running back split, and this is Darren Nelson, number 31 to the 22, and Ricky McBride, the All-Southeastern Conference linebacker, number 52, puts the hit on him. Now we have Marty Smith and Pat Bowe in as double tight ends. Here's Bill Walsh, the head coach of Stanford, spent 10 years in the NFL setting up offenses for teams like, well, the San Diego Chargers, the Oakland Raiders, the Cincinnati Bengals. You talk about excitement. Watch his patterns tonight. This is Dills to the air. And it's incomplete, intended for Marty Smith, the 6'6" senior from Palo Alto. And the coverage out there by number 29, Bob Kelly.
Coverage is real good by the Bulldogs. An interesting thing is that Steve Dills has been completing about 63 of his passes all year. We're looking at head coach Vince Dooley. He's taken the Bulldogs in his 15 years down there to 11 bowl games, but right now he needs a win because the last 3 outings, the Bulldogs now have not won. The last time they won in a postseason game was in 1973 when they beat Maryland in the Peach Bowl.
Marjoram to the right, Malloy to the left. Here's the draw, and it is going to Francis, the fullback. And Francis all the way up to the 38, almost the 39-yard line. Phil Francis brought down by Scott Warner after a gain of almost 17 yards.
Here's a guy that's been hampered a lot by injuries. He had an ankle injury, then an Achilles tendon that gave him a problem. But look at him do a good job here. Not running with a lot of explosion, following his blockers, just weaving his way through there, pushing off, using the official a little bit, still pushing his guard there in front of him. Number 56, Rob McGregor. A good job of running by Phil Francis.
Mitch Pleiss, 83, down at tight end, has brought the play in. Play action, and that's Pleiss at the 40. Mitch Pleiss, who just brought the play in. And he was hit immediately for 21 yards. Bob Kelly on the tackle for Georgia. Now Andre Tyler is coming. Boy comes out. They keep alternating, as you see Pleiss going back to the huddle. They keep alternating the receivers, tight ends and wide receivers. Dills now 4 out of 7 for Stanford. It's 63% of his passes in the regular season. Slot left. Darren Nelson. Little guy spins inside the 40 all the way down to the 37. And Pat McShay, number 41, the defensive right end, comes up to make the stop. There he is, Pat McShay, a sophomore from Anderson, South Carolina. Marty Smith brings the play in now for the Stanford Cardinals, who trail 3-0 with 3:29 to go in the first quarter here in the Astrodome. It's foggy, it's rainy in Houston, but it's a comfortable 70 degrees inside. It's a beautiful night inside. Pleiss splitting wide to the right. Marjoram split wide to the left for Stanford. And Darren Nelson, trapped behind the line, is going to be thrown for a loss at about the 42. Robert Goodwin, the Birdman, the junior from Fort Myers, Florida, is there to throw him for almost a 5-yard loss.
You know, that wonder dog defensively, the Georgia Bulldog defensive team, as they're called, are not big, but they're so active up and down the line. Great pursuit. Robert Goodwin, number 31, Darren Nelson trying to go over the top. Too many red shirts, though. Paul Patrisco, Goodwin, number 19, a cornerback, Werner in there, a whole host of red shirts.
Malloy to the right, Marjoram to the left. 3rd down, 14 for Stanford. Dill's under a rush. Incomplete to Marjoram. And Dills really got whacked by number 59, Lewis Friedman, who had a rush on. Robert Hope had the coverage, the right quarterback for Georgia. And so Stanford will have to give up the football, and Ken Neighbor comes in to boot it away. The 8th wonder of the world, the Astrodome in Houston, side of the 20th annual Bluebonnet Bowl, a New Year's Eve tradition. Number 19 going back deep, that's Scott Warner. Pat Collins also back. He's the up man, and back to do the punting is Ken Neighbor. And the ball will take a roll and hit for the end zone. And let's see, they may have gotten it out of there. They did. It is down at about the 1-foot line. And the man downfield to do it was Larry Harris of the Stanford Cardinals. And so Georgia will be in the hole. And we'll be back with more action right after this timeout in the Astrodome.
Here's the play that put the Georgia Bulldogs in such a hole. Ken Neighbor's kick, and Larry Harris right there. He got caught earlier for illegally touching one in the end zone, but this time he gets it in time inside the 1-yard line.
Back to the live action, and Pyburn is going to his tailback, Mr. Dependable Willie McClendon, the All-American, who is no doubt going to be a #1 draft choice when the pros start drafting. There he is, Willie McClendon. 1,312 yards this season to break the record of Frank Sinkwich.
He's getting a lot of help up front, too. We're looking at it from the ground level there from the backfield. Willie McClendon, first team All-Southeast Conference, getting a good job from the people up front in the trenches.
Carmen Prince wide to the right side. Pyburn to McClendon again, and he sees enough daylight. He hits that hole in a hurry out across the 10 to the 12, and he's got a first down before Gordy Saraceno can make the tackle for the Stanford Cardinals. Willie McClendon broke the 37-year-old record held by Frank Sinkwich. He now has gained 43 yards in 6 carries. In 8 straight games this year, Willie gained 100 yards or more. When they moved to the I, Willie started to operate. Scott and Prince are split wide. Pyburn to the air. And this is Scott, the intended receiver. A battle for the ball, and Stanford comes up with it on the interception.
Larry Reynolds in good position on that one. The intended receiver was number 24, Lindsey Scott. Well covered all the way. Probably a pass that Pyburn should not have thrown. In any event, Larry Reynolds in excellent position and coming down with the interception.
Larry Reynolds out of Corvallis, Oregon, a senior, picking it off, and now the Cardinals have the ball.
You're going to see just an excellent battle for the ball done by number 22, Larry Reynolds. Intended receiver is Scott. They got to go. Both have a right for it. Reynolds, with great concentration, kept it.
Dills to the air. First down. Look at this Georgia rush. He gets it away to Francis. Coming out of the backfield for about a yard gain. Ricky McBride, a great linebacker. They call him the glue to this defensive unit. Made the stop. It'll be 2nd down and 9 coming up. There's Larry Reynolds coming up with a big interception for the Cardinals. The linebackers for Georgia are extremely active. Happy man. Steve Dennis, the strong linebacker and co-captain, number 86. He was a great high school quarterback and became a very tough linebacker, as we see Marjoram going wide to the left side. Malloy to the right for the Stanford Cardinals. On the draw, Darren Nelson breaking a tackle at midfield, and all of a sudden he goes down in a hurry at the 49 as Greg Bell, number 20, the left quarterback, a sophomore out of Birmingham, put a hit on him after a gain of 6.
Looking at Nelson there, he's a little fella, but he's got a lot of quick moves out there. Greg Bell, though, had to come up with an excellent tackle to bring him down for that short gain.
3rd down, almost 3 yards to go with 3 seconds left in the first period. Nelson, 7 carries, 36 yards unofficially, and we've run out of time in the first period. So the first quarter is over here in the 20th annual Bluebonnet Bowl. And at the end of the first period, the score is Georgia 3, Stanford nothing. Second quarter action coming up at the 20th annual Bluebonnet Bowl. Merle Herman, Don Perkins, and Howard David with you. Stanford in possession, going the other way to the north end of the Astrodome. Steve Dills at quarterback. The lone setback is Phil Francis. And Dills gets hit on a good charge by Jimmy Payne, the defensive right guard. A loss of 5 yards as Jimmy Payne, who had 8 sacks this year. He's a 6'3" freshman from Athens. Really put a crunch on Steve Dills. And that brings up a 4th down and 8. A big play by Jimmy Payne. And coming into punt is Ken Neighbor, who has averaged 42 yards on 3 kicks. Scott Warner, 19. Pat Collins, 28 are deep. Neighbor gets it away. It'll be fielded by Warner just inside the 15. Trying to go to the outside. He has dumped it about the 22, possibly the 23-yard line. As the Cardinals cover in a hurry, a kick of 41 yards, and Jim Brown was downfield to make the tackle.
Merle, a good friend of yours, Lenny Dawson, will be heading up the announcing team for the Olympia Challenge Bowl 2 in Seattle, Washington's Kingdome, January 13th, right here on the Mizzlou Television Network. Lenny Dawson, along with Don Perkins and Steve Grad at the Superdome, the Kingdome in Seattle, January 13th.
Jay Russell is now in the ball game. He is split wide to the right for Georgia. His dad is the defensive line coach. And look at Willie McClendon breaking tackles all the way across the 40. He is brought down to the 43. Check that. Ronnie Stewart, beg your pardon. Ronnie Stewart, the fullback. Chick Evans stopped him after a 20-yard gain.
Ronnie Stewart only ran for 252 yards during the year. He's just a sophomore, did not play an awful lot. We might mention we've got another quarterback in there, number 8, the freshman, Buck Ballou, is now heading up the Georgia Bulldogs.
And Ballou sends Prince wide to the right. Arnold is split wide to the left. And again, the fullback, Ronnie Stewart, and Stewart across the 45 to the 48. Buck Ballou, who pulled Georgia out of a hole in the Georgia Tech game this year. A gain of 5 yards by Ronnie Stewart. Tom Hall, 58. Terry Reniker, outside linebacker, stopping the last play. It is 2nd down and 6 after a gain of 4, and now Ronnie Stewart goes out of the game, and Jimmy Womack comes in at fullback. And Matt Simon is down as the tailback. We're looking at man in motion, and that man, Russell, splitting wide to the right. Prince comes set to the right side, and this is Simon. Simon down to the 48 of Stanford, stopped by Terry Reniker, a junior out of Seattle, Washington, after he picked up about 4. It is 3-0. The Georgia Bulldogs leading on a first quarter field goal of 31 yards by Rex Robinson.
Craig Zelmer there coming out of the lineup for the Cardinals, taking his hat off, looking a little disgusted. Bulldogs are moving the ball on them.
Here come the Bulldogs on a 3rd down 2, and that's Prince setting to the left. Womack, the up back, will go for the 1st down, and he gets it down to the 46, almost the 45. I believe he has the 1st down. Jimmy Womack, who gained 395 yards, scored 1 touchdown this year, brought down by Doug Rogers, number 60, the nose guard for Stanford. It is a 1st down. Gain of 3 and a 1st down at the 46.
And there's that man, number 52, Greg Zelmer, coming back in now for the Stanford Cardinals.
Jay Russell, whose dad Irk is a happy man on the sideline for the Bulldogs. The coaching staff is split out wide to the left. And Ballou throwing to his tight end, Mark Hodge. Hodge down across the 30, down to the 27. Mark Hodge out of Spartanburg, South Carolina, the alternate captain. John Pickett had the stop of the play.
Looking at it from the ground level, we're going to see a good tight end, good dimension, 6'4", 223, coming over the middle, taking that pass from Ballou. Good pass route there before he's brought down by number 44, Keith Burcham.
A gain of 19 yards, and we have a Stanford injury. Craig Zelmer, sophomore linebacker, shaken up on the last play. Georgia moving the ball down to the 27. There's Zelmer, who was hurt on the last play. We'll have a timeout with 12:14 to go. The Bulldogs lead 3-0. We'll be right back. The Georgia Bulldogs marching into Stanford territory with a 1st down and 10 on the 27 of Stanford. And that's Prince going wide to the left. Jay Russell to the right. And Simon, Matt Simon, all Southeastern Conference selection of the freshman team, going for 4. And Terry Rittaker, number 53, stopping the play for the Cardinals. The defensive linebacker on the right side, the outside linebacker. Saraceno and Budinger, now the inside linebackers. The cornerbacks, John Piggott and Rick Parker. Larry Reynolds has seen a lot of action at cornerback. In fact, Reynolds is out there right now on the right corner, going against Russell, who is flanked wide to the left. Right through the middle goes Jimmy Womack, the fullback, inside the 20, stopped to the 19 by Saraceno after a gain of 4, and it will be 3rd down. Coming up.
We would like to extend our heartiest congratulations to you, Merle, on your 32nd wedding anniversary with your wife, Jeanette. It's just been put up on the scoreboard here at the Bluebonnet Bowl.
Oh, my goodness. Our thanks to the Bluebonnet Committee. They have been so nice down here. Oh, thank you, gang.
Way to go, Merle.
We made another one. Power I, Georgia. Ballou, the quarterback. The option thrown back of the 22 as that Stanford defense led by Saraceno really toughens up for a 3-yard loss. And number 53, Terry Rittaker, was in there.
Taking a look at it from the ground level, you're going to see a lot of pursuit by the white-shirted Cardinals out there. Number 53 is Rittaker, but the guy that makes the stop is number 95, right there on top of the quarterback blue. That's Saraceno making the stop for the Cardinals.
7 different rushers have carried the ball for Georgia. They've really moved it around. Now, on the other side of the coin, the Stanford Cardinals throw to at least 11 receivers. Rex Robinson with Garrett Holding on the 28, going for a second field goal, and he's going to be way off to the left, and the ball goes over to the Stanford Cardinals. So the Cardinals have stopped the Georgia Bulldogs, and we have a timeout of the Astrodome. 10 minutes to go in the first half of the 20th annual Bluebonnet Bowl, and we'll be back with more action after this word from your local station. Cardinals, Vince Mulroy is flanking wide to the left, the senior out of Newport Beach, California. And this is Darren Nelson. Look at this guy go up to the 40. Little Darren Nelson, who gained over 1,000 yards this year, 1,061. Just got 18 on that one, and Bob Kelly, the safety man, had to make the stop.
Looking at it again, he looks like he's shot out of a cannon. Darren Nelson right there. Going to see a good block thrown out there, leading the way for him, but right there. Strains off the official. It's going to take a nice shoestring tackle. Otherwise, he's going for much more yardage. 52, Ricky McBride in on part of the tackle.
54 yards gained by Nelson unofficially in 8 tries, and this is Francis being hit behind the line by Lewis Friedman, number 59. He had 65 tackles and 8 sacks this year. Lewis Friedman, a guy that nobody seemed to want coming out of high school, except Georgia.
Lewis Friedman, number 59 from Georgia, going across the line. He's a senior from Savannah. Putting a lot of pressure in there, getting to the fullback, Francis.
Smith and Pleiss are now in for Stanford. Normally tight ends, but they use so many sets. Well, just call him a wide receiver. And the handoff is going to Jim Brown, who's now the fullback, and he's up to the 45, and Robert Hope stops him there. About a 5-yard pickup. It'll be a 3rd down coming up now for Stanford. They have a switch now for the Georgia Bulldogs defensively. If Dennis McBride, Rogers are the linebackers. Brown is now in as the setback. Steve Dills to the near side, completes it to Mulroy on the 48-yard line. Down into Georgia territory. We have a flag dropped after that 5-yard play. Dear Ms. Lou, we're glad you're all here. Stanford will draw the penalty.
Looked like an all-purpose sign out there, depending on where they are. They had to cross out one name and put in another.
Stanford is hit with a major penalty, taking the ball back to the 29. Stanford had an ineligible receiver downfield. They've got so many receivers, it'd be very difficult for the officiating crew to keep up with them.
They've got their work cut out for them, that's for sure.
3rd down, 19 coming up. Well, this is part of the superstructure of the great Astrodome in Houston. And it's 3-0 Georgia on a field goal by Rex Robinson back in the first quarter. We're in the second period. Dill's going airborne on 3rd down and is sacked back inside the 20 by Lewis Friedman, who has been outstanding tonight. A loss of 10 yards. There's Lewis Friedman, number 59. What a game he's playing.
Well, I tell you what, let's look at the receiver going downfield. Ken Marjoram, he's trying to get to the outside there. He's pushed out of bounds. That's one of the reasons the quarterback had such a problem. Dills couldn't find anyone.
On 4th down and 28, here is Jervis to do the, or rather, Neighbor to do the kicking, and he gets it away to the 42, and that's Scott Warner on about a 2-3 yard return as the Cardinals cover in a hurry. A kick of 38 yards, and Andre Tyler, a split end who can really fly, was downfield to make the tackle for the Cardinals.
The Bulldogs came into this game as definite underdogs. Most of the people figured that the Cardinals were a little bit too strong for them. They've got excellent field position right now, and momentum is going for them.
Buck Ballou is still the quarterback. Lindsey Scott is coming to the right. Amp Arnold is going wide to the left for the Bulldogs. Up over the ball is Ray Donaldson, the best center Georgia's ever had, according to Vince Dooley. And look at this quick opener for Jimmy Womack, who sees enough daylight. He almost has a first down. I think he just missed it. Gordy Saraceno, who has been very, very busy tonight, as he has been all year, made the tackle, and that is Craig Zellmer, who injured his right hand, the linebacker, on the last defensive series, and Zellmer may be out of the ball game for the rest of the night. Georgia leading 3-0. Amp Arnold in motion to the left, going into the slot holding, and that is Lindsey Scott, split wide left. Womack right up the middle, inside the 40 at the 39. Some powerful blocking up front there by Donaldson, by Morrison, by Braswell, and a gain of 7 for Jimmy Womack, who now heads for the sideline and is replaced by Ronnie Stewart. He got it up for the first down. Scott splitting wide to the left. This is Ballou, the freshman quarterback. And Ballou giving off to Stewart. Stewart hits down to about the 36. And Steve Budinger, the inside linebacker from Tucson, Arizona, makes the stop. They mark it on the 37, a gain of 3.
At the conclusion of the game tonight, one of these two coaches, Walsh or Dooley, is going to take home the Toyota Coaches Award presented to the winning coach of the winning team of the Bluebonnet Bowl. And right now, it is a toss-up, anybody's game.
The Bulldogs leading 3-0. Not as much scoring as we'd expected tonight, but we're still in the first half. Scott is split wide to the left. And Ballou throws to him out there. And Scott inside the 30 at the 29. Larry Reynolds to make the tackle. Not a screen because there weren't any blockers out there. Just stand up and throw for a gain of 8.
Just a little hitch to Lindsey Scott out there. He's just a freshman. He's going to be quick. Ballou, though, has got a quick release, and he's right on the money. Ballou was also just a freshman. Good work there, though, by Scott. Getting to the outside, finally dragged down by Reynolds, but not before a nice gain.
And another first down. The ball marked officially on the 29. Scott flanked to the far side near the sideline. Buck Ballou is bringing Amp Arnold in motion to the right. And this is Ronnie Stewart, the fullback of the Bulldogs, and he is down to the 25. Doug Rogers and Dean Wilson. Wilson, the primary tackler, after a gain of 3. Ronnie Stewart from Tampa, Florida, sophomore, gained 252 yards this year. The defensive unit for the Cardinals getting a real workout against the on-charging Bulldogs of Georgia. Scott to the right. On the wing is Amp Arnold. Somebody moved too soon up there, I believe, as the handoff goes to William McClendon. McClendon goes banging down to the 21, and Saraceno stops the play. Maybe nobody did move too soon. A gain of 5.
I think you and I were the only two people in the whole building that saw the left side move, because not a flag was thrown. We're down to 3rd down and 2 coming up now for the Bulldogs,
who have really controlled this game, Don Perkins.
They certainly have. They evidently read the newspapers and did not like at all being picked underdogs in this contest. A fine record, 9-1-1 for the year.
All right, Georgia. Willie McClendon putting his head down, going to the 22. And he is met by Milt McCall, number 80, the outside linebacker, and Dean Wilson, number 91, the right tackle. Milt McCall, number 80. Evans is 89. He's the left tackle. McClendon now 11 carries for 48 yards unofficially.
And that McCall family is quite a football family. Milt's father was Bill McCall, two-time All-American end at Stanford. Had a brother, Duncan, who was an All-American, also at Stanford in '76.
It is 4th down and 3, and Ballou is going for it, and he's got it. On the way is Prince. Touchdown! Carmen Prince taking it in. A 22-yard touchdown pass, and a happy Georgia Bulldog crew.
I tell you what, the quarterback, Buck Ballou, is doing a good job on this one. Got a good quick release on the run there, getting a lot of pressure, a good pass route. He had a couple of men he could have thrown to. Norris was also in the area. Carmen Prince, though, goes in. He's just a junior. The quarterback who threw as a freshman, Vince Dooley's got good help for a long time.
Rex Robinson, bad snap, flags down, and there are only 4 flags on this play. Everybody was moving. And referee Jack Baker out of the Western Athletic Conference says, all right, gang, let's get together and try to figure this thing out now with all these flags. All the officials, by the way, are from the Western Athletic Conference. Jack Baker is the referee. Umpire is Rudy Marich. The linesman, Phil Euler. The line judge, Paul DiStefano. The field judge, Doug Reeves. The back judge, George Lloyd. The timer is Frazier Dealey.
Merle, I'd also like to mention George Lloyd's father is John Lloyd, who was an official for a long time in college football, and he officiated the first game ever played in the Astrodome between Kansas and Houston.
Offside, Stanford.
And they've got a special center in there for snaps. Number 51, Charlie Fales, comes in because he's a better long snapper than the regular center, Ray Donaldson.
Robinson takes another shot at it, and it's no good. So Rex Robinson, who had kicked 29 out of 29 this year, has finally missed one. It is Stanford 9, or rather Georgia 9, Stanford nothing, and we'll be back. Gordon Banks, 45, and Rick Jervis, number 11, are back deep for the Stanford Cardinals, as Georgia's Rex Robinson will be kicking off. Rex missed his first PAT a moment ago this season. He's now kicked 16 out of, 19 field goal attempts, including the 2 shots in this game tonight. 9-0 Georgia, and look at Robinson's leg. Well, that's the one thing that Coach Vince Dooley said he wanted to do. He didn't want any runbacks by the Stanford Cardinal speedsters.
Well, I tell you what, they haven't brought any back yet. They've got them all into the end zone on them.
On offense, Stanford 59 yards on the ground, in the air 33 unofficially.
This is coming up on January 13th. Lenny Dawson, Don Perkins, Steve Gratt will be at the Olympia Challenge Bowl 2 at the Kingdome in Seattle, right here on the Ms. Lou Television Network.
Bill Walsh, a very concerned Bill Walsh right now, hoping that Steve Dills, number 12, can move it for the Cardinals. He's been under a big pass rush tonight, and he completes this one to Phil Francis, his fullback. And we have a flag thrown at the end of the play at the 24-yard line as Pat Collins made the tackle. So Pat Collins, the roverback, a real hustler out of North Augusta, South Carolina, making the tackle, and that is Gordon Terry, number 50, the defensive end, and Vince Dooley, the head coach of Georgia and his Bulldogs.
And we see the walk-off going against the Bulldogs. I think somebody probably grabbed a face mask on the end of that tackle that time.
That was a late hit.
Late hit.
The official called personal foul, late hit, and even bordering on spearing there. Very close.
Now the Cardinals with a first down of their own 39, trailing Georgia by a score of 9-0. The Bulldogs were a real Cinderella team this year. They were picked to finish 7th or 8th in the Southeastern Conference. They came from behind to win 6 games out of the 9. Dills swings one to his fullback Francis. Good block up to the 45 to midfield. And he has got a first down on a gain of about 12. And Mitch Pleiss, number 83, really laid a block.
We're going to get a look at that one again. Phil France is going to be on the end of this Dills pass right here. And just to the left of your screen, you're going to see Pleiss come back in right there. Good job on number 86, Steve Dennis. He just blew him away. And fine run by Francis.
And it was finally Ricky McBride, the linebacker, and Scott Warner, the quarterback, who made the stop. Back to the live action, a home run ball for Dills, and it is incomplete, intended for Ken Marjoram. Scott Warner had the coverage on the play. Dills is now 8 out of 13. And we have another flag back there.
Innovative.
Andre Tyler is now in and is now coming to the sideline. He was in for the one play. Mulroy is going to bring the play in, and we have offsetting penalties, so the play goes over. No down, no nothing. 3 minutes and 39 seconds to go in the first half here in the Astrodome, and the Georgia Bulldogs lead the Stanford Cardinals by a score of 9-0. Last year, Bill Walsh's first edition of the Cardinals won the Sun Bowl over LSU. He says this team is a much better team than that of last year. They really lost some tough ones, Don.
They certainly did, losing 4 games by a total of 16 points.
First down for Steve Dills, and the Cardinals out of the eye. Fake draw, chase on, screen to the left, well covered, loss on the play. Ricky McBride, the linebacker, was right over there to cover Darren Nelson. Has been looking at a lot of Stanford films.
They certainly have, and you know, we talked early in the show, and I figured that if Georgia could put enough pressure on Dills, he would have problems, and they've exerted that pressure all evening so far, and Dills is far short of his 63% completion rate.
They lost 5 yards on the pass completion, second down, 15. Dills going for Marjoram down the sideline, incomplete, down on the 35. Coverage over there by Pat Collins, number 28. By Jeff Hipp, number 49. He was a starter until he came up with a shoulder injury this year for the Bulldogs. But he's back in action tonight. It is third down, 15 for Stanford, and the Cardinals are trailing by 9-0 with 2:58 to go in the first half. Mulroy split to the left. Darren Nelson, the tailback, is flanked wide this time. Dills looking for Darren Nelson. Instead goes to Marjoram on a short play to the 49, and Chris Weldon made the tackle. Marjoram, they didn't get it up on that. Gain of only 3, and he was looking for Darren Nelson, who was well covered.
That Georgia secondary is so active. The secondary is real quick and mobile, and they're getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback. Not a big club at all, Georgia is, but gosh, they got such active men out there.
Number 19, Scott Warner, is deep for Georgia as Ken Neighbor puts it in the air, and he drives it downfield, and this is Scott Warner going to let it go into the end zone. So Georgia will bring it out to the 20 on the touchback with a 9-0 lead, a 51-yard punt by Ken Neighbor, who has been outstanding this evening.
He's had a lot of practice, too, and the way the evening's going, he may get a lot more before it's over with. Georgia leading 9-0, 2 minutes and 16 seconds left here in the first half of play.
Georgia scoring on a 31-yard field goal by Rex Robinson in the first quarter, and a 22-yard touchdown pass by Buck Ballou in the second quarter. Pyburn is back in at quarterback now for the Bulldogs, as Vince Dooley using 2 men tonight. Arnold in motion to the left. Pyburn going to his tailback, Willie McClendon. Slant off the left tackle to the 24. And it'll be second down and 6 coming up. Dean Wilson, 91, the right tackle, stopped the play for Stanford.
Let's take a look at Gordy Saraceno. His father used to be a pro hockey player with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Young Saraceno's quite a football player, working off a tackle there, working down the line. He's a senior from Canoga Park, California.
Second down, 6. And right up the middle goes Jimmy Womack. Womack near the 28 is short of a first down. Chuck Evans, 89. Doug Rogers, 60. The left tackle and nose guard stopped the play. Unofficially, Willie McClendon, 12 carries, 52 yards for the University of Georgia Bulldogs. Mark Hodge goes out at tight end, and Ulysses Norris is back in. They call him Paid Norris. Nobody knows him as Ulysses. Vince Dooley, Southeastern Conference Coach of the Year again this year, and he was in his rookie season.
And has been for 5 years.
Jeff Pyburn. And Pyburn on the option. Going to Amp Arnold. And Arnold getting the blocking he needs, gets the first down out across the 35, almost to the 37.
Arnold's not only an excellent receiver, but he's a fine runner. Look at him come out here. You see number 25 is Womack leading the way. You're going to see another good block thrown out here. 85 is helping him. That's Norris. Norris kicking out number 24 right there. Taking him right out of the play. And number 82, Arnold, doing a good job there, escaping other would-be tacklers.
And Evans finally got him down. Pyburn to Lindsey Scott. Scott up the near sideline, gets near the midfield stripe, but he went out of bounds just short of the midfield stripe. Looked like he got about 12 or 13 yards on that one. Tom Hall finally made the stop for the Cardinals of Stanford. The Tampa Bay Packers are here. And a Happy New Year to you, too. Wherever you're listening tonight on our New Year's party from the Astrodome, the Bluebonnet Bowl 20th Annual New Year's tradition. That's Jeff Pyburn's first completion of the night. And it'll be 1st and 10 for the Bulldogs on the Bulldogs 49-yard line when we continue play here in the Astrodome. Well, the Bluebonnet Bowl over the years has been one of the most exciting of all the bowl games in its 20th season. And they have really had some wild games here over the years. I remember a couple of years ago here when we were here to do the game, Nebraska-Texas Tech. Last year, of course, what a game with Texas A&M and USC. A wild scoring second half, and we might have exactly that in the second half tonight. Bill Walsh, in his second year at Stanford, as I mentioned, calls this 7-4 team of this year better than the one last year. He's coached some great quarterbacks over the years, not only the NFL, but also with the Stanford Cardinals in the short 2 years that he has been at Palo Alto.
I'm sure he had to feel snake-bitten this year, losing 4 games by a total of 16 points. 3 of those games he lost in less than the last minute of play.
Georgia, unofficially, 15 first downs, 7 for the Cardinals. The quarterback, Jeff Pyburn. Flipping to the tailback, Matt Simon, who fires downfield for Amp Arnold, and Arnold goes up there to pull her down, I believe. It is a reception on the 8-yard line. Amp Arnold.
Just fantastic. Jeff Pyburn, the quarterback, pitching back to Matt Simon, who's the running back. Not only is there running back, you're going to see that Simon is quite a thrower. Plants there. Nice follow-through. Even in the face of adversity, he knew he was going to get hit on the end of it as Arnold, and watch him go up in the air and just fight 2 receivers, one being Reynolds in the area. Arnold comes down with it, though. Great catch.
A 44-yard pickup and a 1st and goal to go on the 8-yard line, and Gordy Saraceno, number 95, the co-captain of the Cardinals, is coming to the sideline to talk to the defensive coordinator. The Cardinals have really had problems with this Georgia Bulldog football team. Bill Walsh, the head coach, with a word for Saraceno. Georgia has 1 timeout left. Only 23 seconds remain on the clock as the Bulldogs are trying to put more points on the board before this first half comes to an end.
Stanford Cardinals have a reputation for using a 3-4 defense exclusively and will not change from it. Now, perhaps Georgia has scouted that out and figured out a way to beat it. If so, Bill Walsh will have to change.
Here come the Bulldogs. 1st and goal from the 8. Prince is split wide to the right. And this is Pyburn on the roll. And firing, it is caught, but out of bounds. Caught by Pay Norris, but he was out of bounds. John Piggott had the coverage.
That was a fine catch, even though Norris was out of bounds, because it was tipped before it went into his hands, but great concentration there. The way the Bulldogs are throwing the ball around out there, they look like they might be the passing ball club.
You know, as we watch these teams work out, and we were talking about all the offensive sets that the Cardinals have, and Gil Brandt of the Cowboys says that this is the only team that that even challenges the Cowboys for most offensive sets. And the Bulldogs said, well, we'll do a few things too. We'll use a flank a reverse and throw off of it and a few other things. 2nd and goal at the 8. Pyburn, and it is complete to Prince, and Prince is in there. Touchdown. Carmen Prince on his 2nd touchdown pass. And the Bulldogs are on the scoreboard again with 11 seconds to go.
Looking at it from the ground level, quarterback Jeff Pyburn, just a junior, had only a couple of completions prior to this, but you're going to see him find Prince on this one. Roll out. Now right there, Prince has the ball. He knows he's going to get hit, but watch this determination. He's hit short of the goal line by Burcham, but falls into the end zone there, getting an assist from Tom Hall, but Prince goes in.
And the Bulldogs have a 15-0 lead with Rex Robinson going for the extra point and Mike Garrett holding. He's misses again. He had not missed until tonight this year. Well, the Bulldogs have a 15-0 lead anyway.
Here's a look at that touchdown again by quarterback Jeff Pyburn. Throwing to Prince. Going to see it from just a slightly different angle. Nice move by both of them. Good pass route as Prince rolled out into the flat there. And right there is the lick delivered by Burcham. But too little, too late. Prince goes in.
Unofficially, 11 seconds away from halftime, Georgia has rolled a 302 yards total offense to 107 for Stanford.
Unbelievable.
Does that kind of tell you the story of the first half? Player limping off?
Oh, boy. And how, Howard? There's really been some hitting. There's the story with 11 seconds to go in the first half. Going back deep for the Cardinals are Banks and Jervis. And to kick it off, Rex Robinson. Well, the Bulldogs really came to play tonight, didn't they?
I tell you what, that 3-year postseason losing record evidently has got not only Dooley inspired, but the whole Bulldog team.
Robinson, a line drive shot to Jervis' side that goes out of bounds, and that'll bring a flag, and we'll do it again from 5 yards closer to the Stanford Cardinals. But I'll tell you something, knowing the reputation, the tremendous explosion that the Cardinals can offer, don't go away. This second half could really be wild. The Cardinals have been down before. They've got that great air game. Georgia's had a big pass rush.
Georgia certainly a Cinderella team all year. When they finished the Southeastern Conference, they had not lost a ball game. They were 7th in rushing, 8th in the conference in defense, yet they had not lost a conference game. Finished the season 9-1-1, losing to Southern Carolina. South Carolina 27-10, played Auburn to a 22-22 tie. Other than that, they were flawless. Came from behind in 5 ball games, though, to win it.
Rex Robinson to kick it off again. I said 5 yards closer, 5 yards deeper, but Stanford moves up, and this is Banks on the return. And Banks across the 30, up to the 33. We have 5 seconds to go in the first half. A return of 23 yards. That's the first kickoff return tonight. And Robinson, he's been kicking him right out of the end zone, or deep enough that Stanford has elected not to run it back. 5 seconds to go in the first half. Stanford down 15-0.
Think Dills will crank it up one time before halftime, Earl?
I have a hunch he might get it airborne at least once or twice. Steve Dills, number 12, leading passer in the nation. 3 seconds. Last play then in the pocket. And there's his man. That's Marjoram. Marjoram at the 42, dropped by Robert Hope. And that'll be the end of the first half. 25-yard pass play, but it doesn't mean anything at this stage because that's the end of the first half of the Bluebonnet Bowl with the score, the Georgia Bulldogs 15, the Stanford Cardinals nothing. Bowl with the score, the Georgia Bulldogs 15, the Stanford Cardinals nothing.
The drum major, Gary Corbett, all told 100 pieces in this high school band. Let's join our colleague Don Tollefson in Ms. Lou Control.
It's halftime at the Bluebonnet Bowl. Hello again, I'm Don.
In its halftime performance, the Stanford band takes an irreverent look at the woes of President Jimmy Carter as he faces the new year, the aches and the pains of the man from Plains. Let's join Hal Michelson and the Stanford band.
Which have stalled like a stopped-up salt shaker. Peace in our time in 10 yearly episodes. Round 2, round 3, roundabout.
The Stanford band, they are a zany group and very entertaining, to say the least. Well, you saw Don Tollefson and Ms. Lou Television Control talking about the high school All-America team, both offensive and defensive. And with me is Carrie McDonald, the executive director of the National High School Athletic Coaches Association, and Dave Dixon, who's the vice president of the Carnation Company. Carrie, some plaques that we want to present to... Gentlemen, we thank you all. Congratulations to the winners, and we will return to the Bluebonnet Bowl in Houston, Texas, right after these words from your local...
Back in the Astrodome in Houston, Texas, Merle Herman, Don Perkins, and Howard David with you, and Stanford is kicking off to start the third quarter, and Lindsey Scott, deep in the end zone, will bring it up for the Georgia Bulldogs. 15 to the 20, and rolled out of bounds near the 25-yard line. The man who got him out of bounds is Robbie Chapman, a return of 26 yards by Lindsey Scott, who wheeled one home 99 yards against LSU this year, Don.
And he made his average on that one, almost his average. He's averaging 26.5 yards per return, so he was right on target.
Georgia leading by a score of 15-0 here in the third quarter. Jeff Pyburn at quarterback, Jimmy Womack the fullback, Willie McClendon the tailback of the Georgia I, and split wide to the left side is Amp Arnold. Jeff Pyburn on the first call gives it to Willie McClendon, who hits the left tackle of a slant near the 30. Willie, who had 77 yards in the first half, picks up 5 on this one. And he has 11 carries now. Dean Wilson made the tackle.
You just saw Ben Wilson from McDonald's Corporation during our halftime. Ben has a check presentation to make, and we'll do it right after this play, Merle.
Jeff Pyburn on a 2nd down 5. Out of the eye, Lindsey Scott split to the right side, and look at Womack on that quick trap up across the 40 to the 42. A gain of 12 yards and a first down as Jimmy Womack carries the mail out of the up back spot, and it was Gordy Saraceno, the linebacker, to make the tackle.
All right, Ben, you had a check presentation to make to the school of our Marty Finnan, the National High School Football Scholar Athlete.
That's right, Howard. We're very proud of Marty as the first winner of our National Scholar Award, and we'd like to present a check in his honor for $1,000 to his high school, Fenwick High.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Here is Pyburn going to his full tailback, Matt Simon. Simon is on his way almost. He is pulled down with an ankle tackle by John Piggott, who saved the touchdown there as far as Stanford was concerned. A gain of 29 yards by Matt Simon.
That he did. Simon hasn't rushed for much this year, but he's gone 81 yards against South Carolina, so he can break the big gainer. You look at him there reversing his field. Maybe he's got the ball in the wrong arm, but when you're picking up yardage like that, who really cares? Piggott, number 24, finally brings him down.
Lindsey Scott is wide to the right. Pyburn, and this is the fullback, Ronnie Stewart, and look at Stewart go up the middle. Down inside the 10 to the 9, a 19-yard pickup by Ronnie Stewart, and Georgia is tearing that defensive unit apart.
Well, looking at it from the ground level, they say that without good blocking up front, all backs look alike. The Georgia Bulldogs are doing their job. Look at the hole we're open up there for Ronnie Stewart, the fullback. Sophomore, 5'10", 191, and he blows through.
Pyburn going to the fullback, Stewart, and Stewart is right down to the goal line. Ronnie Stewart going about 10, maybe a little more than 10 yards, right down to the goal line. He's very close. Tom Hall stops the play.
Sophomore from Tampa, Florida. Let's look at it again in slow motion. Just look at that determination. It's going to be very close to the goal line. Right there, he's still churning for yardage. He's already hit. I don't know, awful close. Good run.
Duke Dapper is down there defensively for Stanford. Power eye, and Pyburn, touchdown. And Georgia has scored quickly here in the third quarter in less than 3 minutes. So Jeff Pyburn takes him home, and the big scoreboard explodes here in the Astrodome.
Looking at it down the end of the line there, if you control that line of scrimmage, you're going to win the ball game. The Georgia Bulldogs, just a surge right there. And there's number 53 throwing a good block. Ray Donaldson leading the way, but a good charge by the offensive line for Georgia.
And their extra point is added by Rex Robinson. He missed his first 2, but he doesn't miss this one. And so the Bulldogs score in the first 2 minutes of the third quarter and take a 22-0 lead here in the 20th annual Bluebonnet Bowl. And we'll be back with more action right after this. Ray Jervis, number 11 at the top of your screen, a sophomore out of Bend, Oregon, back to receive the kickoff. Now they're going to switch. Gordon Banks will take the other side. Banks, who has run the ball back 269 yards this year on kickoff returns, and this is Rex Robinson, who can really boom the football, and here he is. A little bit short on this one. We should have a run back. That's Banks at the 4. 20, 25, and brought down right on the 25-yard line. A return of 21 yards, and the tackler is Hugh Nall, and you'll always see Nall down there on those special teams. 1st and 10, and Stanford has got to get it going now with the nation's leading passer, Steve Dills. The Cardinals, who have averaged 435 yards a game per game offense this year, 268 yards passing, have really been shut down by the Bulldog defense. Here's Dills out of the eye, fakes the draw, and the ball tipped, and Marjoram was the intended receiver on the 40, made a dive for it, and that one almost could have been picked off.
You swear there's more than 11 red shirts out there. Here's the receiver, Ken Marjoram, honorable mention, All-American, All Pac-10, trying to get open. He was actually open. He had a lot of shirts around him, but the ball was tipped at the line of scrimmage.
Georgia has dominated this game tonight. That's about all there is to it. Slot to the left now for Stanford. Dills. This is Nelson. And Darren out across the 30 after making a cut to the 31, maybe the 32. Lewis Friedman, who has been outstanding for Georgia tonight, number 59. And Ricky McBride, the great weak side linebacker, make the tackle, a gain of 7. It'll be a third down coming up and a long 3 yards to go.
Well, that Georgia defensive ball club is not big at all. They've only got 2 guys that are much over 200 pounds in their entire lineup, but all very mobile, agile.
Running back split, wide receiver right. Dills. Ball knocked down at the line of scrimmage. And it was Robert Goodwin, the Birdman, who knocked that ball down, and Dills is having problems throwing over that big, tall Georgia line.
When he's not harassed and not able to get the pass off, he's having the Georgia Bulldogs get their hands up in the flight of the ball. Defensive ball club for Georgia doing an excellent job.
Scott Warner and Pat Collins are back deep, and to do the punting is Ken Neighbor. Neighbor gets it away. Warner will let it take a roll. And the ball goes down at the 22. That was Stanford's 7th punt, and Georgia hasn't kicked it all tonight. Well, we have a 22-0 score with the Bulldogs out in front. 11:52 to go in the third quarter. We'll be back with more action after this from your local station. The Georgia Bulldogs will take another shot at it. This is what the defensive linemen for Georgia have looked like against Stanford all night. They're coming at him. There's the mascot, the Duke. Hybrid at quarterback. Willie McClendon diving across the 25 to the 27. Willie, the great All-America, made most of the All-America teams, at least first or second team, Southeastern Conference Player of the Year.
Picked up 5 yards on that one, had 8 straight 100-yard games before he injured a hand. That slowed him down a little bit, still ended up with over 1,300 yards for the year.
Lindsey Scott is split wide to the right. Amp Arnold on the wing, and right up the middle goes Jimmy Womack, going to the 32. Got Doug Rogers, number 60, had a piece of him. Steve Budinger, 62, also in there, gain of 5. It is now 3rd down and 1 for the Bulldogs of Georgia. And Carmen Prince, who has caught 2 touchdown passes, comes into the ball game for the Bulldogs. And Amp Arnold goes out. Norris and Hodge are in as they go to the double tight end on the short yardage and go into a power I. Fiburn to Willie McClendon. 1st down, Georgia, near the 35. The 20th annual Bluebonnet Bowl from the Astrodome in Houston. A New Year's Eve tradition, co-sponsored with the Greater Houston Bowl Association and the Houston Chamber of Commerce. And I'll tell you, they have really gone all out to entertain both these teams in their traveling party this year. McClendon now has 89 yards rushing. Pretty. Both these teams are red and white. And Pyburn at quarterback will bring Arnold in motion back to the right side. Oh, a hit on a blitz and a helmet lost. McClendon took the handoff, and Saraceno, 95, really unloaded on him on a blitz for a 4-yard loss.
Well, this is the reason Gordy Saraceno was all Pac-10, honorable mention All-American. Look at this lick right there on number 36, McClendon. McClendon's helmet flying loose there. Lucky his head didn't go with it. Great hit that time by Saraceno.
It is now a 2nd down and 14. Georgia giving Stanford a little different offensive set now. 3 wide receivers out. Pyburn back to Willie McClendon. McClendon hitting up to the 34. Gain of 4. And it's now 3rd down and 11 coming up. Dean Wilson, number 91, on the hit that time for the Stanford Cardinals.
And we're looking at Willie McClendon there go to the sidelines. Evidently he was shaken up a little bit. If anyone doubts the Bulldogs' credentials, they beat Clemson this year, who beat Ohio State in the Gator Bowl. They also beat LSU, who lost to Missouri in the Liberty Bowl, and they also beat Georgia Tech, who lost to Purdue in the Peach Bowl.
Jim Pyburn going to the air and going long for Lindsey Scott. And we have a flag thrown and a pass interference call against Stanford, I believe. And it was Robbie Chapman who had the coverage, and he really nailed Lindsey Scott. The ball was there. So the ball will be put down on the 42-yard line. Pyburn is now 4 out of 8. Jeff doesn't throw that much. His father, Jim Pyburn, was a great All-American at Auburn, now an assistant coach at Georgia, and of course was a baseball star with the Baltimore Orioles, and that's Bates, who is nursing an ankle injury. Georgia first down on the 47. Here's the option. Simon throwing, and a nice defensive effort there. The pass was intended for Pay Norris, and look who was out there, linebacker Gordy Saraceno.
Saraceno's a little bit all over this place. A mobile guy, 6'2", 219. This time Matt Simon is going to try to throw one. He completed one earlier, a rollout like this. Let's take a look at Saraceno's play out there. Good position by Saraceno. The intended receiver was Norris, the big tight end for Bulldogs.
Georgia leading 22-0 in the third quarter. Here's the inside reverse to Amp Arnold, and he lost the football, and Stanford has recovered. Amp Arnold on the flanker reverse, cutting inside, and Saraceno was on top of the football. He has been very, very busy.
Saraceno doing a great job, but let's take a look at Arnold again. You're going to see just as he turns back to cut in, there's the handoff. Just as he turns inside, he's going to take a good lick. The ball is already loose. Actually, the ball is already loose. Number 91 in the area is Dean Wilson. The guy coming up with it, though, is 95, Saraceno.
Now it's Stanford with Steve Dills at quarterback with one setback. Wide receivers out each way. And this is Brown trying to get to the outside, and does, and down to the 42-yard line of Georgia. And Robert Hope, number 30, makes the tackle. A gain of about 11, and that'll be a first down.
Well, I tell you what, that was a great run that time by Brown, but you're going to see a good block for number 31, Darren Nelson. Let's see if we can catch it right there. He's got his head in front, so it's not a clip. He took the man out, though, clean. Good block by Darren Nelson. Fine run by Phil Francis.
Darren Nelson has rushed 10 times for 71 yards tonight. He's numbered 31. That's Marjoram split to the right. And it is Francis to the 40. A gain of a couple, and Gordon Terry, number 50, and Ricky McBride, 52. The right end and the linebacker stop the play for the Georgia Bulldogs. Andre Tyler now comes in for Stanford as a wide receiver, and Mitch Pleiss comes out. Andre Tyler, number 25. Marjoram comes out split wide to the left. He caught 53 passes for 942 yards and 9 touchdowns this year, but nothing tonight. Incomplete, intended for Pleiss. Ball was thrown behind Pleiss. Or check that Bow. Pat Bow was the intended receiver. Bob Kelly had the coverage on the play.
Poorly thrown pass that time by quarterback Steve Dills. Bow was not covered closely. Dills was not rushed. He just threw it behind him. Looking at number 54 on the Georgia sidelines. Number 54 being a big defensive lineman. Hugh Null plays a lot on the special teams.
Mulroy is split wide to the right side now for Stanford. Dills rushes on in the pocket, and this time he's got Marjoram. Ken Marjoram down to the 28-yard line, brought down by Robert Hope. And that's the Ken Marjoram we've become to know, picking up 12 yards.
He and quarterback Steve Dills work a lot together during the summer. Good block there in the middle of that line for the Stanford Cardinals. Gives Dills plenty of time. Marjoram running a good route there. Leading receiver in the Pac-10. Quite a hurdler and sprinter also on the Stanford Track Ball Club.
Marty Smith, 88, comes in. Andre Tyler, 25, goes out, and Stanford wants a timeout. We have 7.5 minutes to go in the third quarter, and the Georgia Bulldogs are dominating the Stanford Cardinals so far tonight. We'll return with more action right after this. And then in the first 2 minutes of the third quarter, put another 7 on the board. Marching 75 yards in 6 plays after taking the third quarter kickoff. Dills. And this is Francis fighting his way to the 25. Phil Francis brought down by Danny Rogers, the middle linebacker, a junior from Athens, Georgia, and Gordon Terry out of Jacksonville, Florida. Gain of 3 at the 25, and it becomes second down and 7 for the Stanford Cardinals. This team can really explode. I know we keep saying this. It has not happened, but if their past record is any indication at all, Well, once they get something started, they keep right on going. But the Bulldogs still have had everything going their way. They have just outplayed the Cardinals. Dills falls down, dropping back. I don't know if he got tripped up or whether he tripped on the AstroTurf. Loss of 7. And a tough loss for Steve Dills. The ball marked down to the 32-yard line where it becomes 3rd down and 14. And a look of frustration on the face of Steve Dills. Looking to the sideline, wanting the play, and it's brought in by Marty Smith. By the way, Bill Walsh calls all the plays from the sideline. They don't come from upstairs, they come right from the head man himself.
Puts a lot of players in and out of the lineup, so he has a lot of opportunities to get plays in there.
Dills is a -46 rushing. 3rd and 14, home run ball. There's Marjoram wide open, and there is the first TD of the night. First points on the board for the Cardinals. Was he open or was he open?
Merle, I almost think that had to be a broken play because nobody was near Ken Marjoram on that one. That was like a gimme. The closest man to him was Scott Werner, and he's at least 5 yards away. Dills there backing up with plenty of time to throw, and look how open number 28 is. Ken Marjoram, first team All Pac-10, honorable mention All-American. Still nobody in a red shirt in the area.
Well, the Cardinals finally make it to the scoreboard, and I believe they're going to go for the 2-point conversion. Dills has completed 12 out of 20 for 139 yards unofficially. So the Cardinals go into their pro set. Dills throwing for 2, and he doesn't get it.
A lot of pressure put on by number 28, Pat Collins, that time. Let's take a look at the touchdown again. You're looking at it from the end zone, and you're going to see how open Ken Marjoram is. Right there. Nobody in our screen at all. There comes the closest man, who's Scott Werner, 5 yards away.
Bo was the intended receiver on the 2-point conversion try. So now Stanford is trailing with 6 minutes and 3 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter, 22-6. Here's Howard David.
2 weeks ago, Dwayne Dow announced the winners of the Nutriment Traders of the Year.
They're at the count. Averaged 26.5 on returns this year. 20 returns for 529 yards. And to kick off for the Stanford Cardinals, Ken Neighbor. Scott at the 4, the 10, trying to go the other way, gets some blocking at the 15, the 20. He can move it, flags are down, and Scott to the 34. So Lindsey Scott brought down by Ken Marjoram, who scored the last touchdown, a return of 30 yards, but a flag was thrown back around the 16.
Charles Bedford is down there for the Cardinals from Stanford. May have been a clipping infraction on that one. Special teams play such an important part of the ball game. A lot of the times this happens because the guys don't play on a regular basis and they get a little anxious. Let's take a look at Steve Ballinger, number 87 for the Cardinals, going down. Got some mittens on there to protect himself from the AstroTurf. Let's see what happens. See what he does in the action. Gets bumped around a little bit, gets hit right there. That may have been the clip, I'm not sure.
Well, let's see. Looks like he's okay. Georgia has doubled Stanford's total yards right now, 389 to 191 total yards in this game. So coming to the sideline now is Charles Bedford, and let's hope that he's okay. Georgia in possession after the penalty, moving the ball back to the 8. Ronnie Stewart is now the fullback, and Willie McClendon the tailback of the eye, and Pyburn the quarterback. McClendon out across the 15 to the 17. He's close to a first down. Robbie Chapman had to stop him. Got about 9.
Does such an excellent job of running. He's got the explosion when it's needed. That time he ran more under control, just following his blockers, weaved his way out for a nice 9 yards.
Out over the ball, Ray Donaldson, Morrison, and Braswell the guards. Milo and Guest to the tackles for Georgia. And this time the handoff going to Stewart, and Stewart not getting much. Steve Budinger put a pop on him. In fact, he may have lost a foot on the play. Ball out across the 15, where it becomes 3rd down and 2. Georgia 22-6 in the 3rd quarter. We have 5 minutes left to play in the 3rd period. Hope you're enjoying the New Year's Eve party with us from the Astrodome in Houston. Amp Arnold split to the right. Need 2 on a 3rd down now as Jeff Pyburn checks the running backs. Willie McClendon going for the 1st down, fumbles a football, and they go after it. And Stanford is recovered. So the Cardinals come up with their 2nd fumble recovery. Terry Rineker, number 53, I believe, is the man who got it. There he is.
You're going to see a fine 2nd effort this time by Willie McClendon, but he forgot one thing, the handle on the ball. You're going to see him run into a pile right there. He takes a lick, still fighting. He's going to try to spin out, but the ball was just stripped from his hands.
Willie McClendon now at 99 yards, would have been over 100 had he been able to hold that football. Here, Steve Dills. And it is Darren Nelson, and they almost fouled that handoff up with Pat Collins coming on a blitz to make the tackle. It is 2nd down, 10. In fact, they lost maybe a half yard of the play. The Georgia defense. Goodwin, Friedman, and Terry. And Friedman has been absolutely outstanding tonight. Dennis, Rogers, and McBride, the linebackers. Warner and Hope, the cornerbacks. Collins and Kelly, the deep backs. Of course, Collins, the rover. Dills going to the air, and he's got his man. That's Nelson, touchdown. Boy, you talk about a team that can come back, and that's what we have been referring to. A 20-yard touchdown pass to Darren Nelson coming out of the backfield. And he has caught passes for 4 touchdowns this year, and that's number 5 for the little guy from Los Angeles.
Catcher of 50 passes this year from the quarterback Steve Dills. Also caught 50 last year from Guy Benjamin and Steve Dills. Excellent little receiver, excellent runner. Fine throw that time, too, by quarterback Steve Dills.
Well, for the 2nd time, Dills has had a receiver wide open this evening. And now the Cardinals are getting right back into business. They trail by 10, but there's a lot of time left in this ball game. Ken Neighbor for the extra point try. Dills to hold. And they're going to fake it, and they worked on this yesterday. And yes, Neighbors can throw or run, and he's in there for the 2-point conversion. Ken Neighbor can either throw or run off that, and yesterday they were working. He was throwing, he was running. This time he goes in for 2.
Here's a look at that touchdown throw by Dills to Darren Nelson earlier. Nelson coming out of the backfield. Dills taking a real quick set. He got hit right there, but a real quick set. And number 31, Nelson, wide open for the Stanford Cardinals.
Well, it's now a 22-14 ball game. Don't go away. A typical 2nd half of a Bluebonnet Bowl football game. The 2nd half explosions over the years here have really been something to watch.
This is Ed Morrison, who is the senior vice.
No, man. Well, you back your own team. That's the way it is. Dills 13 out of 29 now, 159 yards.
Let's take a look at that again. Quarterback Steve Dills, the holder. Neighbor, the intended kicker. Well, we didn't see all of it, but Neighbor did a good job running it into the end of the end zone there for the 2-point conversion.
Now, will Stanford go for the onside kick? Georgia has got to be thinking about things like that. It is 22-14 here in the 3rd quarter. The Indians, or rather the Cardinals, coming back strong. This is Lindsey Scott of the 1. 10, 15, 20, flag down. Flag thrown on the 32-yard line. The tackle at the 20, a 19-yard return by Lindsey Scott. And the man on the tackle, Pat Bowl, a tight end. Now let's see what the flag's about at the 32. Clipping indicated against Georgia, and things are not going well for the Bulldogs, who really did dominate that 1st half, no doubt about it. You know, one of the great things about any bowl game, of course, is all of the activities, the hospitality that is extended to the teams, the schools, and the traveling party. And I'll tell you, I've been to a lot of bowl games, but I don't think anybody can ever top what the Bluebonnet Bowl Committee has done for the two teams here this year, Stanford and Georgia.
Wasn't that a super reception that we went to last night, Merle?
Wow.
Just fantastic.
Buck Bellew is now the quarterback for Georgia. And Womack at fullback, McClendon at tailback. It's Womack, the fullback. Out to about the 14, rather. Gain of 4 on the play. Buttinger, 62, was there, the linebacker. Top tackler for the Cardinals this year. It is now 2nd down, 6 coming up. Ronnie Stewart has come in for the Bulldogs, and Womack has gone out as the up back in the eye. Amp Arnold is splitting wide to the left for Georgia. Bellew, McClendon, and a jarring tackle at the 10. And guess who? Mr. Saraceno. Loss of 3. Gordy Saraceno has played like an absolute All-American tonight. And I know if Nick Bonaconti is watching, he's very proud of him.
Well, he was the leading tackler this year for the Cardinals with 147. He also has a career total of 528, which is the school record.
3rd down, 9 coming up. Scott is split to the right. Arnold wide to the left. Bellew. And it is Willie McClendon, almost away, but dumped at the 15. Willie McClendon, a gain of 4. He's over 100 yards now. Savan Thompson, the left quarterback, made the tackle. And here's a very happy young lady, and that is Mary Lou Braswell, who a couple of weeks ago married the All-Southeastern Conference right guard, Matt Braswell, number 55. Kick is away, almost blocked. And the return is on, and that is number 46 bringing the ball back, Joe St. James. And now it'll be Stanford's football, and the Cardinals wind up with great field position, a 30-yard punt, and the Cardinals, who have scored twice here in the 3rd quarter, trail 22-14. Steve Dills brings the offense on. There's the story. The time remaining in the 3rd quarter, 2 minutes, 9 seconds. That was the first Georgia punt of the night at the 44 of the Bulldogs. The Cardinals put it in play. Dills has his man. This time he goes to Mitch Pleiss, his tight end, who is dropped on the 32 by Danny Rogers, 46, and Scott Warner, number 19. 14-yard pickup and a 1st down. Well, certainly the Bluebonnet Bowl Committee, headed by Ray Driver, president of the Bluebonnet Bowl, Claude Clements, who sponsored the Big Texas Barbecue for both teams while they were here, Lou Welch, the chief executive officer of the Houston Chamber of Commerce, co-sponsored the Bluebonnet Bowl, and other gentlemen that we'll recognize later. Here is Darren Nelson. The play is still underway. Flags are down, a fumble, and I believe a recovery by Georgia, but I also believe Georgia was offside. Pat Collins there, a gain of 16 if the play stands.
I don't think it's going to stand, though. Lewis Friedman, number 59 for the Georgia Bulldogs, I think was offsides on that one. But let's take a look at it again. Number 31, Darren Nelson. You're going to see some real quick feet right there, changing his direction, changing it again, leaping over some would-be tacklers right there, cutting out again, doing a great job of finding the open field to run in.
The Cardinals take the gain as Georgia was offside. It's a 1st down on the 15 of the Bulldogs. There is Steve Dills, who has engineered 2 touchdowns on passes. One to Marjoram and the other to Darren Nelson. Nelson now near the 100-yard mark in rushing, 87 yards unofficially. Dills going for the bomb. There's Marjoram. Ken Marjoram, his 2nd touchdown of the quarter, the 3rd of this 3rd period for Stanford, as he beat Robert Hope. And the Stanford Cardinals come to life in the 3rd quarter.
Good pass route run by Marjoram on that one. He did a little zig in and out. I don't think we can see it. We're looking at the quarterback, Steve Dills. But Marjoram broke to the inside and then headed for the corner of that flag, beating number 20, Greg Bell, badly. Good passing combination. Dills to Marjoram.
And now Stanford takes a timeout. Dills has hit 65% of his passes now, 15 out of 23 for 187 yards. And as Georgia dominated the game in the first half, it's been all Stanford here in the third quarter.
Let's look at it again from the end zone. Maybe we can see that pass route run by Marjoram a little better. Blocking good. Good blocking by that offensive line for the Cardinals. Good pass route. Wide open. Number 20 chasing. Greg Bill had no chance at him.
A typical Bluebonnet Bowl game. And now Stanford, if the Cardinals go for two and make it, can tie this game here in the third quarter with 1:33 seconds left to play in the third period. You know, we're talking about the Bluebonnet Bowl Committee. Our thanks to John Crooks Jr., chairman of the board of the Houston Chamber of Commerce. Weldon Humble, the former Rice All-American, member of the selection committee. And of course to Tex Thornton, the executive director of the Bluebonnet. Gentlemen, you've really done it this year. What a show. Not only with the teams on the field, but all the activities, the barbecues for the teams, the parties, the hospitality. The players, the schools have really enjoyed it. And the fans are enjoying this action, huh? They're going for two. Dills. He's got it. Tie game. Darren Nelson. 22-22.
Oh, Burl, I could see that one all the way. I could see that one all the way as Darren Nelson came out of the backfield. We're looking at it from the line of scrimmage there. Quarterback Steve Dills dropping back. Excellent protection. Nobody's near him. And Nelson is all by his lonesome out there. The closest guy to him is Scott Werner, but he's too late.
Almost an unbelievable comeback by the Stanford Cardinals, scoring 3 touchdowns here in the third quarter and tying the Bulldogs 22 all. The Cardinals were behind 50-0 at the half. On the second half kickoff, Georgia scored in 2 minutes.
Here's a look at it again from a different angle. You see the blocking holding up well for Dills there. He's no pressure at all. Getting better protection here in the second half. You give him time, he'll find the receivers. That time he finds Nelson.
It's not too hard to figure out how Stanford scored over 300 points and led the Pac-10 this year. They can put up the points on the board and put them on in a hurry.
Now it's a brand new ball game in the third quarter, and Ken Neighbor will kick it off with Lindsey Scott deep for the Georgia Bulldogs. Watch Lindsey Scott from 2 yards deep of the end zone. 20, 25, and the tackler, number 25, Andre Tyler. Lindsey Scott on a 27-yard return. It's a little better than his average even. Now the Bulldogs will go to work. Coach Vince Dooley has used 2 quarterbacks tonight, Jeff Pyburn and Buck Ballou, and Buck Ballou will be in for this series. Happy, happy fans here in the Astrodome tonight. Scott has returned 5 for 99 yards. Womack and McClendon are in the eye. Womack the up back. Willie McClendon hit behind the line by Dean Wilson, number 91, the right tackle from Spring Valley, California. A loss of 2. It'll be 2nd and 12.
Good look at McCall going back in the lineup. Number 91, Dean Wilson, was the man that made the stop on that one. The first half all belonged to the Georgia Bulldogs. This third quarter, though, however, has been the Stanford Cardinals.
John Piggott has a tough assignment now. He's going against Scott as Scott is flanked to the right. Here comes the challenge. There's Scott and there's Piggott, and he got him out of bounds on the 33-yard line. John Piggott, a senior from Lake Oswego, Oregon. A gain of 11 and a first down.
Well, John Piggott knew who his man was all the way, 24-24. He's done the backpedaling there, and now he's going to close on number 24, Lindsey Scott, but he closed a little bit late. A little bit late. A nice gain that time by Scott.
Buck Ballou, the freshman from Valdosta, Georgia, is 4 out of 4. Here's Amp Arnold splitting wide. They had a little confusion. Georgia had a 12th man on the field. They have to call a timeout. And Buck Ballou goes to the sideline now to talk to head coach Vince Dooley. Amp Arnold tried to get off the field, but Georgia called a quick timeout. We have 50 seconds to go here in the third quarter in the Astrodome in Houston in the 20th annual Bluebonnet Bowl game, and it's turning out just exactly like we thought.
And more action coming up on the Ms. Lou Television Network on January 13th. Lenny Dawson, Don Perkins, Steve Grad will be at the Kingdome in Seattle, Washington. to bring you the second Olympia Challenge Bowl. Pac-10 All-Stars against the Big 8 All-Stars. Interesting concept in All-Stars. Conference pride is at stake here in addition to individual excellence.
I'm going to see some of these Stanford Cardinals out there in the Kingdom also.
You'll see another great quarterback. A guy by the name of Jack Thompson. The throwing Samoan will be there.
Buck Bellew back in the huddle now. We said that we expected this kind of game, and we did. Lots of scoring. Remember, Bill Walsh said there would be 7 touchdowns at least in this game. Arnold is split wide to the left for Georgia. Bellew hit behind the line, a fumble, and Saraceno might have been in there again. Let's see who got it. Tom Hall went scrambling for the ball, and it might be his recovery. A loss of 6 and a recovery by Stanford, and with 45 seconds to go in the third quarter, the Cardinals have the football back. There's the man of the moment right now, Tom Hall.
He's the man of the moment. He recovered it, but let's give a lot of credit to number 80. Let's look at it again. Number 80 is Big Milt McCall. He's the one that put the lick on. Hall picked up the interception. A big break for the Cardinals. They're on the move again.
First down on the 28-yard line of the Bulldogs. Steve Dills, with 45 seconds to go here in the third quarter, is thrown for 3 touchdowns in this period. This time it is Darren Nelson, 15. Make that Francis to the 15, down to the 11-yard line. Robert Hope making the tackle after a 17-yard gain. Phil Francis, the fullback, 17 yards to the 11. Now we're down to 39 seconds to go in the third quarter.
I tell you what, if the guys up front do their job, I think I could still run with the football. Right now, you're looking at a good one, though. Phil Francis does a good job there, spinning out, picking up good yardage.
Back to the live action. Dills looking for the end zone. There's his man. Touchdown. Oh, dropped by Smith. The tight end, Marty Smith, almost pulled it out of the air. Bob Kelly had the coverage on the play.
Merle, that would have been a fantastic catch if Marty Smith had caught it, though. It was a high pass. Dills there getting pressure. Let's take a look at Smith, though. He makes a genuine All-American effort at it. Right off of his fingertips. Number 29 in pursuit is Kelly. Just a little bit too tall for Smith.
Marty Smith is 6'6", 225 pounds. Clock stopped with 17 seconds to go. Marjoram is in. Smith is out for Stanford. Steve Dills breaks that huddle, and he's going to send Marjoram wide to the right. The ends are in tight. Pleiss and Bowl. And this is Francis down to about the 7 as we have 12 seconds to go in the third quarter in a 22-22 game. Ricky McBride stopping the play for Georgia. And the clock running, and I believe we've seen the last play of the third period. And what a third period it has been, as the Cardinals have outscored the Bulldogs 22-7. And at the end of 3 quarters, it is now Georgia 22 and Stanford 22.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. The score, 22-22, Georgia against Stanford. Stanford with the ball. It is third down, 7 for a first down, 8 for a touchdown. And Dills on the rush, gets hit as he lets it go, and it is incomplete. Nearest man to the ball, Marty Smith. And he really took a shot from Robert Goodwin, 99, and Gordon Terry, the defensive ends, number 50.
2 gentlemen that were with us at halftime, Joe Lukens and Jeff Guy, co-captains of our high school All-America football team. We'd like to congratulate those 2 youngsters and all of the winners. Our high school All-America presented by McDonald's in Carnation.
Steve Dills now 15 out of 25, 187 yards, as coming into the game, Ken Neighbor on 4th down, going for a 24-yard field goal that could put Stanford in the lead, and it is good. A 24-yard field goal by Ken Neighbor, and Stanford has come from way back to go out in front. It is now Stanford 25, Georgia 22, and we'll return with more action after this timeout. Man that could give it to them. He can really fly, the freshman from Jessup, Georgia. Ken Neighbor, a sophomore out of Cincinnati, Ohio, will kick it off. Neighbor just booted a 24-yard field goal to put Stanford ahead. The Cardinals trail 15-0. at the half and 22-0 in the third quarter after 2 minutes. But now they're leading. And Lindsey Scott will not run this one back as it goes back into the end zone. Talk about wild second halves, Don Perkins. Last year, Southern Cal beat Texas A&M 47-28. And 39 offensive records were set or tied. Over 1,100 total yards offense by the two teams. And the halftime score was only 20-14. Now, let me see if I can add that up. 32, let me see. 35 points in the second half last year, and we have 32 in the second half so far tonight.
Doesn't say much for defensive football, does it?
No, but the fans love it.
They like it, you bet.
Bill Walsh, who has the great passing game, and somebody moved on the Georgia line. I believe it was the left guard, Nat Hudson.
Let's take a look at it again, see if we can see who moves a little bit early. Number 65 is the guy moving, Nate Hudson. Number 91 across from him is Dean Wilson. Illegal procedure against the Georgia Bulldogs. Work themselves in a little deeper hole. They've had enough problems here in the second half so far.
Jeff Pyburn is the Georgia quarterback with Jimmy Womack at fullback, Willie McClendon at tailback. Split to the right, Amp Arnold. Georgia trailing by 3 here in the fourth quarter. Pyburn going to Womack. And that Stanford defense toughens. Steve Budinger, the linebacker, puts a hit on him after a gain of a couple. Terry Riniker also in there on the stop. It is now second down, 13 after a gain of 2. Jeff Harper has come out. Braswell has come back in at right guard for Georgia. Arnold is split to the right for the Bulldogs. Pyburn to Womack. Womack up to about the 18. Got a yard or so, and Dean Wilson and Steve Budinger make the hit for Stanford. Merle Herman, Don Perkins, and Howard David with you here in the Astrodome at the 20th annual Bluebonnet. Lindsey Scott is split to the left side. Hamp Arnold is going wide to the right. Pyburn looking for Scott. There he is at the 35, and he's up to the 39. So Jeff Pyburn to the air for 23 yards to Lindsey Scott.
Lindsey Scott looks like an old veteran out there. The kid's just a freshman, but he's a super receiver. Pyburn, the quarterback, getting excellent protection. Look at that time he's got to throw. And finds his man, Lindsey Scott, the leading receiver for the Bulldogs with over 400 yards catching.
Now Scott comes to the left side. Willie McClendon, and they key on him and knock him down to the 39. Maybe have picked up a yard. It'll be second down and 9. Chuck Evans, 89, is in there on the stop. Robbie Chapman, a free safety, I believe, is shaken up in the play. And time is called for the Stanford Cardinals as Steve Foley, who was out for a little rest, comes back on the field now for the Cardinals, number 30. Don't go away. Cardinals lead 25-22. It was Georgia's game all the way in the first half. And the way they started out in the second half, Stanford kicked off to Georgia. And the Bulldogs just marched 75 yards in 6 plays to make it 22-0. And then the Cardinals apparently said, hey, wait a minute. And it's been a Cardinal ball game since then.
That third quarter was some passing exhibition by quarterback Steve Dill. Showed why he's thrown an average of 22.5 passes completed per game this 1978 season. Looking at the guy coming off the field, there's number 47, Bobby Chapman, shaking up a little bit.
So Foley has replaced Chapman as Scott comes to the left for Georgia. Pyburn, play fake. On the run and incomplete on the 49. Amp Arnold was the intended receiver, and Keith Burcham had the coverage, and the pass falls incomplete, and it'll be third down and 10 for Georgia. McClendon now unofficially 21 rushes for 102 yards. That's a 5-yard average for Willie. Vince Dooley says that there's no doubt in his mind that he'll be a number 1 pick in the pro draft. Head coach Bill Walsh in his second year at Stanford. Carmen Prince is now, and he's split to the left. Scott goes to the right for Georgia. And this is Womack, the fullback. Womack breaking a tackle on the sideline, goes across the midfield stripe down to the 46. And it is Doug Rogers who finally makes a stop after Jimmy Womack picks up 15 yards and a first down for the Bulldogs.
Well, that was just super. It looked like Womack was trapped with a whole host of Cardinal defenders. Let's look at Pyburn's throw to him out there. And right now, you're going to see him surrounded by white shirts. He's breaking through the sidelines. Saraceno's one of them. Good block thrown there by number 75, Mac Guest. Dips back to the inside, weaves his way around pretty good. Number 60, Doug Rogers, got a shot at him and finally brought him down.
And this is Steve Budinger, who has played outstanding football defensively for the Cardinals, being helped off the field. One of the inside linebackers. By the way, we have been asked to pass this message along to the friends and relatives of the Stanford team on the West Coast. The team will not come home tonight because of the severe Midwest storm. They will be flying in tomorrow, and we'll tell you about their schedule a little later. Georgia in possession. First down on the Stanford 46. The Bulldogs have moved the football, and Pyburn has his man, and that's Big Pay Norris, the tight end. Down around the 30-yard line, and Steve Foley gets him out of bounds after a 14-yard pickup. They'll mark it officially on the 31. First down, Georgia Bulldogs, as this exciting Southeastern Conference team starts to turn it on. Pyburn now 7 out of 12 in the air. The Bulldogs are bringing Scott wide to the left. First and 10 on the Stanford 31, or Stanford leading 25-22. Pyburn to Willie McClendon. McClendon just bowling his way, seeing a little daylight, and then doing the rest on his own inside the 25 for a 7-yard pickup, and Tom Hall gets him down at the 23 of Stanford. There's Zellmer. Craig Zellmer apparently is out of the ballgame. The shoulder pads are gone, but he's going to stick around to see the rest of it. He was injured in the first half. A linebacker, fine young man from Hacienda Heights, California, sophomore. Pyburn has Arnold split to the left. Willie McClendon, not much, but a little, near the 21. Tom Hall, 58, on the stop. Dean Wilson also in there. 2, possibly 3, and an official's timeout as they're going to bring the chains in. It's that close. Any part of the ball will do it. And the Georgia fans will let you know if they made it. First down, right. Georgia. By the way, the special charters for Stanford, the party, will arrive at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon in Los Angeles and 4 o'clock in San Francisco. So especially for the parents, don't be concerned, because they're just going to stay right here and will fly out tomorrow because of the bad weather in the Midwest. Pyburn to Willie McClendon inside the 20 at the 18. Milt McCall, the son of the great All-American Dr. Bill McCall, making the tackle, gain of 3. Bill, a great star with the Chicago Bears. And across the way, Vince Dooley feeling better now that his team has been able to move the football against the Cardinals. What a job he has done in 15 years at Georgia.
11 bowl games in 15 years.
On 2nd and 6. And it is Stewart, the fullback, inside the 15 to the 13. Keith Burcham, the free safety, making the tackle for Stanford. A gain of 4 on that one. Looks like the Bulldogs have their poise back now, Don.
They certainly have, and they're playing it very close to the vest at this stage of the game. I saw quarterback Jeff Pyburn looking over at the sidelines, talking to head coach Vince Dooley. Dooley sending in all the plays. He's alternating tight ends and running backs. They want to keep themselves in good scoring position. Got an excellent kicker in Rex Robinson.
10:21 to go here in the ball game. And Georgia down by 3. Willie McClendon hit at the 15, brought down to the 14. Willie McClendon met by Gordy Saraceno. Saraceno is something else. It is 4th down for Georgia, trailing by 3. And here comes Mr. Robinson. Rex Robinson and Mike Garrett, the field goal unit, coming off to hold. It'll be an angle right. Robinson certainly has the leg to do it. 74 points with a foot this year for Rex Robinson.
Has not been one of his more accurate nights, though, Merle, missing a couple of extra points.
It'll be a 31-yard shot from the right hash mark. 21 plus 10. Distance is good, and it is off to the left. It is off to the left, and the Cardinals have stopped the Bulldogs with 9 minutes and 29 seconds left to go in the game. It's Stanford 25 and the Bulldogs 22. We'll be back with more action after this from your local station. Well, the Stanford Cardinals have the football again, this time at their own 20. Georgia owns the statistics, but Stanford owns the lead. And that's Marjoram in motion. And Francis to the 25. As Phil, who rushed for 455 yards this year, picks up 5 on this one. And Ricky McBride stops the play for Georgia.
Offensive linemen don't always get all the credit they should, but let's take a look at good number 70, Gene Engel. Second team all Pac-10. Right there throwing a nice block for the running back, Francis. Turning his man to the inside. Number 10 getting blocked out is Chris Weldon. Good job by Engel. Good run that time by Francis.
And Dills at quarterback. He's been there all the way. Bo the man in motion. And the handoff to Francis and the hit by Chris Walton. The rover back. Gain of 2. Stanford staying on the ground now with a 25-22 lead. Stanford with 281 yards total offense and 16 first downs. Get a load of this. Georgia, 479 yards total offense, 26 first downs. But Stanford leads 25-22 after trailing 22-0. Stanford, third down. Big play for the Georgia defense. The draw. Nelson doesn't get it. Darren Nelson is stopped by Chris Weldon. He's a former quarterback who saved the Florida game with an interception. Tim Parks helping him out on the hit. Gain of 2. And Vince Dooley with his quarterback Jeff Pyburn talking over about the next offensive series as Georgia's getting ready to take over. Ken Neighbor will kick it away, and going back deep for the Georgia Bulldogs is Pat Collins. Neighbors averaged 43.2. Collins on the run, 39-yard line. And he gets 10, he gets 11, he gets 13, and almost 14 on the return to the 46-yard line of Stanford. And so the Bulldogs come out of that with pretty good field position as Hibbler made the tackle.
Pat Collins took a dangerous risk there, catching it on the run, but had to do that other than lose a lot of yardage. Makes a nice run up the sidelines.
The Cardinals lead by 3. We'll be back with more right after this. Well, Sports Illustrated may have called the shot on this one, Don. SI said that this game might be the most exciting of all the bowl games. Well, 25-22, fourth quarter, 7:29 to go, Georgia in possession. Pyburn, the option. The keep at the 42. Gain of 3. It'll be second down, 7. Keith Burcham, the free safety on the stop for Stanford.
Watching Pyburn there, you see him looking over at head coach Vince Dooley. Dooley's going to give him the next play to run with 7 minutes and 8 seconds left in this fourth quarter. And the Bulldogs trailing 22-25 for Stanford.
Russell is split wide to the left for Georgia. He's now in. And this is Willie McClendon. He almost broke it and fumbles the football, and I believe Stanford. Nope, it is. Yes, it is. Yep. Stanford recovers. Again, that's a third fumble recovery. And Stanford, an opportunistic team, comes up with the football, and it was Steve Buttinger as Willie McClendon coughed it up after a 4-yard gain, and Buttinger was right there, number 62. So now the Cardinals with a 3-point lead and 6:50 to go. Mulroy was in the huddle, comes to the sideline, and Mitch Pleiss, 83, comes in with a play from Coach Bill Walsh. Stanford trailed 22-0 in the third quarter.
Great third quarter they put on. You have to wonder what kind of a passing club they're going to be right now, or are they going to run?
Well, Stanford's not going to sit on it. Incomplete to Darren Nelson. The Cardinals feel that they can control the ball by throwing it. That's what we talked about earlier, Don.
Got to keep doing the things you do best. And Bill Walsh is a passing kind of coach, and he's got a passing quarterback in Dills out there, and they'll keep going with it.
Clock showing 6 minutes, 45 seconds to go in the game. Dills now 15 out of 26, 187 yards, 59% roughly. Nobody back except Dills to throw. The fullback was in motion. He completes it to Marty Smith. Fumble football, and maybe the Georgia Bulldogs have it, and they have it.
They do.
They had it, they lost it, they got it again at the 28. And the red shirts from Athens, Georgia take over. It was Danny Rogers, the middle linebacker, 46. Scott Warner had a hand in that play also. Danny Rogers fell on it, the junior from Athens, and now the Bulldogs have a chance.
Not only do they have a chance, but they've got excellent field position there on the 28-yard line of Stanford. Marty Smith, you're going to see him take this Steve Dills pass. Right there, he tries to fight for more yardage. The ball gets loose from him. And 46, Danny Rogers, the linebacker from Athens, recovers.
Jimmy Womack on the handoff inside the 25 of the 24. Gain of 5, Steve Foley, the strong safety. Now playing the free safety, I believe, with Chapman going out. He made the stop at the 24. Second down. A long 5, 6 minutes, 13 seconds to go. Stewart is in. Womack is out at the up back spot of the eye for Georgia, as Jeff Fiburn asks the enthusiastic Bulldog fans to quiet it down. Fiburn to Simon, the tailback, inside the 20 at the 19. Keith Burcham on the stop. I believe he's a little bit short of a first down, though. We're down to 5 minutes and 48 seconds to play. Stanford with an unbelievable comeback in the third quarter, putting 22 points on the scoreboard of the third quarter to tie the game at 22 all, and then a field goal early in the fourth quarter to take a 25-22 lead. This is Stewart. I believe he has the first down. They'll call time, maybe bring the sticks in. Tom Hall stops the play. I'd like to thank our crew here in the booth tonight, Gene Arnold and Vernon Eichenfelder on the identifications. Don Elliott, our statistician, doing a great job with a lot of action out here this evening. Any part of the ball. First down, Georgia. Well, of the first 19 games played in the Bluebonnet Bowl, 10 have gone right down to the wire for a decision. And how about this one? This is number 20. Pyburn, Stewart to the 15, brought down by Tom Hall, number 58. 4 yards picked up on the play. Second down, 6. 5 minutes to go in the game. Georgia has now gone over the 500 mark in total offense against 288 for Stanford. Let's see. It is 2nd and 7. 4 minutes, 44 seconds to go. Jeff Pyburn calmly brings the Bulldogs to the line of scrimmage. Play fake. He's going for the sideline and loses the ball, but he was already out of bounds. He had last possession. He got down near the 11. Steve Foley put the hit on him, a gain of about 4. And the clock stopped at 4:31 to go in the game. And Georgia trailing by 3.
Going to be interesting, Merle, to see what they do if they don't convert on this third down situation, whether they'll try to tie it up and maybe onside kick or hope to get the ball back, or whether they'll go for it on 4th. We've got a down to play yet before they have to make that decision.
Georgia stopped a moment ago driving on the 20. Now down on the 11. And it is Pyburn on the option, keeping near the 10. Gain of about 1. And the Cardinals unpiled.
And as I look at that Georgia sideline, I don't see any action over there. Nobody's coming onto the field. It's head coach Vince Dooley there.
It is 4th down and 2. Saraceno on the last stop. And Georgia is gonna go. How about this? The Bulldogs are going for it. 4th down, down by 3. Pyburn, the roll, back of the end zone, incomplete. It was intended for number 85, Tay Norris, and Steve Foley had the coverage, and Stanford is held.
Norris, the intended receiver on this one from Pyburn. He's going to get a little pressure and have to throw, even though he sees that Norris is not open. Rolling out there to his left, has to throw on the run. Good defensive work back there. Number 30 is Foley right in the area. Good position on Norris. No chance.
3:38 to go as the Cardinals take over, leading 25-22, and we'll be back after this timeout. Fullback for Stanford as the Cardinals have the ball at their own 10. And this is Darren Nelson, the little guy from Los Angeles, to the 20. Scott Warner, the quarterback, brought him down after a gain of 10. Well, the Georgia Bulldogs wouldn't even think about going for a tie there in this bowl game. They were going to go for the Big 6 or the Big 7. Turned down a field goal opportunity. I got to admire Vince Dooley for that.
That's a touch of class, really, because he wants to get in that top 10, and he knows he needs a win in this game to finish in the top 10 ratings.
Bill Francis at the 30. I believe he has the first down. He does at the 31. Danny Rogers, the middle linebacker, on the tackle for Georgia. And Stanford with 3 minutes and 2 seconds to play in the game, controlling the ball on the ground now. Well, the Auburn game this year, Vince Dooley played for the tie and got the tie. There was some criticism about that, but I tell you, it's a little different situation now. This is a bowl game, and as Don said, who was it said anyway, that a tie is like kissing your sister?
No, Merle, I did not say that.
Oh, you didn't say that. Darren Nelson fighting for a couple. Goodwin and Patrisco stopped the play for Georgia. Now we're down to 2:26 to go after that yard pickup. Little Darren Nelson, the only man, I believe, in NCAA history who has rushed for over 1,000 yards and caught 50 passes in a year. And he's done that twice. 813 yards total offense tonight. Last year, 1,100 yards. That's both teams. 813 total. Dills airborne, swings it out to his fullback, Phil Francis, 45, and he's near midfield and down into Georgia territory at the 49. And Pat Collins, a little hustler, the roverback, makes the tackle after a gain of 20. 1:49 to go in the game.
Nice passing combination that time, Dills to Francis. Francis could have so easily gone out of bounds, probably gained just as much yardage, but he wants to work on that clock. It's at 1:45 and marching.
1:41 to go in the game. 19 first downs for Stanford, 27 for Georgia. 329 yards total offense now for Stanford against 504 for Georgia. Bill Francis inside the 45 of the 44. Gain of 5. Gordon Terry, number 50. And Ricky McBride, number 52, stopped the play for Georgia. I want to thank Vince Dooley and his staff, and Dave Story and Greg McGarity of the SID office at Georgia for their help and cooperation tonight. Coach Bill Walsh and his staff, and Gary Cavelli and Bob Rose of the SID office at Stanford. Francis now 58 yards, 11 carries. Bob Rose, a good friend of ours, was with the Stanford basketball team this week, and they did well, beating UCLA. 44 seconds of the clock running. And Jim Brown, now in at fullback, takes a hit on the 44 from Jimmy Payne, whose father is with the equipment department of Georgia. And the Bulldogs take a timeout to stop the clock, hoping to get that ball one more time. We'll be right back.
19-6.
39 seconds to play. Steve Dills at quarterback, going to Darren Nelson, the tailback at the 39. And he may have a first down as Stanford controls the ball. Dill 17 out of 28, 207 yards in the air. But Nelson has been the big ground gainer for Stanford. Let's go down to Howard David.
All right, Merle, this is Bob Pennington, who's the Southwest Regional Sales Manager for Dean William, and it's two people. Steve Dills of Stanford, quarterback, and Gordy Saraceno also shares in the award.
Howard, that's wonderful to have two valuable players in this marvelous game tonight. I want to tell you it's a pleasure to be with you on New Year's Eve, and a pleasure for us to make this award.
Very good. Thanks for being with us. Let's go back upstairs to Merle and Don.
Thank you, Howard. Tell you, it's been quite a second half, hasn't it? It was all Georgia in the first half. The Bulldogs absolutely controlled the game.
Looked like they were going to run away with it. Then the way Stanford came back in the third quarter, it looked like they would blow Georgia away. Right now, we've got a real close finish, but Stanford's got the ball.
And Stanford has got a 4th down and 1 as they did not make the first down. And now Steve Dills wants to talk to head coach Bill Walsh of the Cardinals. So the Bulldogs with 32 seconds left. They've been quite a Cinderella team as we show you the people who have been responsible for this game tonight. It's telecast from the Astrodome, the 20th annual Bluebonnet Bowl, a New Year's Eve tradition, and we have just been treated royally here in Houston by the sponsors, the Greater Houston Bowl Association, the Houston Chamber of Commerce, and again our congratulations to Tex Thornton, the executive director, and all of his staff, and Ray Driver, the president of Bluebonnet. And again, we say what a job they did for both schools in entertaining them royally. I'll tell you, I've never seen a group of young men have a better time than they had here in Houston. Those barbecues, plenty of food, nice dinner the other night, little toe-tapping music by a fine Western band, the luncheons, the works.
Good place to spend New Year's Eve. Fantastic.
Here it is, 4th down, inches. And they get it. Jim Brown. And now Georgia takes a look, and it's a 1st down, Stanford. And the clock 29 seconds away from the end of the ball game. Well, hi, Mom, from Craig Zellmer. He tells his mother he's okay. Again, for you moms and dads on the coast, the Stanford party will not come back tonight as planned because of bad weather. The planes coming out of Chicago to pick them up were grounded by the heavy snowstorm, and they will arrive tomorrow. 1 o'clock in Los Angeles, 4 o'clock in San Francisco. Nelson, 106 yards. Dills, 17 out of 28, 207 yards. As Dills falls on the ball, it runs down 4 seconds. The final score, Stanford 25 and Georgia 22. The 20th annual Bluebonnet Bowl is over. And Howard David, Happy New Year from Ms. Lou and Houston, Texas. So long, everybody.